Chapter 702. That slight opening was enough for him. His aura was locked on. The intense sense of danger caused all of the hairs on Tang Tian's body to stand. In the next moment, a shadow cut into the red fist aura. If Tang Tian was a nameless person, he would feel that he had some value. But in the eyes of an existence like Benson, he was just an ant and had no value. It was actually Boss He's most proficient shadowless sword. Dense clashing sounds came out. The formless sword came out from the void. The sparks from the collision were faintly discernible. The frequency of the attacks from both parties were extremely high, and the speed of their changes were unimaginable. In the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint, there were many changes. Adding them together, Tang Tian had also become extremely terrifying. Dark spiderweb. Both parties exchanged over 100 moves, but the opponent's techniques did not overlap at all. The laws that he had gained enlightenment on seemed to be endless. The imposing bellow was like a heavy drum that fiercely struck everyone's heart. It was such a rare opportunity, and everyone opened their eyes wide, afraid to miss out on anything. Too terrifying. But they did not know that it would cause his physical strength to be consumed even faster. The same level as Black Benson? What a joke. Truly a boorish fellow. Now is the time. Tang Tian's speed was extremely fast. In the blurred afterimages, the ghost face was extremely strange, and the originally cold and bewitching pupils were blazing with fighting intent. Even the air waves that were rushing toward him seemed to have become scorching hot. The important thing was not what law you knew, but how deep your comprehension of the law was. As long as your comprehension was deep enough, one law could break 10,000 laws. That was the logic behind it. In history, there were many people who had gained enlightenment on common laws and became powerful martial artists. Benson squinted his eyes. The ice crystal-like blades that coiled around his wrists suddenly shot forward. Tang Tian's personality was unyielding and tenacious. The stronger he met, the stronger the opponent was. The stronger the opponent was, not only did it not scare him, but it made his fighting intent even higher. Everyone who was watching the battle were all intoxicated. A powerful martial artist like Benson would not easily make a move. Whoever dared to challenge Benson would mean that they would break off all relations with the Muir family. But when he lowered his head to look, his face turned pale. Wherever the chi wave swept past, the smooth surface of the West Street was left with countless tiny marks, as if a sharp steel brush had brushed past. Come on. The battle at West Street had reached its climax right from the start. The wind blade in Benson's hand changed according to his will, suddenly dispersing and gathering. Tang Tian suffered quite a few losses, leaving 7 to 8 scars on his body. He looked at the two people fighting in the distance and could not believe his eyes. Tang Tian was actually not at a disadvantage. Although he was defeated by Tang Tian last night, he naturally knew that Tang Tian's strength was extraordinary. However, what he thought of as extraordinary was that Tang Tian was only slightly stronger than him. It was precisely because of this powerful body that those heterogeneous nomological laws could erupt with astonishing power. Benson's mind was calm. He secretly accumulated his strength. He was waiting for the moment the enemy's strength was exhausted to reveal a flaw. Benson squinted his eyes. He did not move. The enemy was filled with determination and craziness, and had long displayed it in the Enlightenment Tao at West Street. He was an opponent that did not need to doubt his willpower. The enemy seemed to have all sorts of laws, but it was extremely heterogeneous and it was difficult to grasp the true essence of it. All of these changes were just small tricks. To Benson, the enemy was already on the wrong path. After fighting for such a long time, he was extremely clear of Ghost Face Mask strength. As long as that flaw appeared, he had the confidence to kill him in one strike. It was the first time Benson had met such a strange and difficult opponent. All three of them were Boshua and the rest's consummate techniques, and in just one exchange he had actually learned them. Although he was still young, but he was able to grasp the essence of it, and his changes were extremely fast, causing people to be unable to defend against it. Behind the mask, a smile appeared. The unyielding could not last for long. That was a logic that any experienced veteran knew. In the sky not far away, a few people were watching with rapt attention. The surging air currents were extremely sharp. They whistled past the West Street, causing countless of violet orchids to shatter, and then being swept up into the sky, colliding with another ball of air currents, scattering down like rain, enveloping the entire West Street. The West Street had become the battlefield for the two of them. The ground was filled with craters, rocks and stones were scattered everywhere, occasionally being swept up by the air currents, producing sounds like raindrops. The stone walls on both sides of the street were collapsing. The violet orchids that were like waterfalls were already riddled with holes, and not many of them were left. The wind blade in his hand melted like ice, transforming into a formless wind. Benson had already started to consciously conserve his physical strength. The majority of the clashes between both parties were head-on, which meant that both parties would consume a lot of physical strength. But Ghost Face Mask seemed to not know fatigue. He was unable to maintain an all-out attack for a long time. Once his physical strength was exhausted, it meant that he had lost the greatest initiative in the battlefield. In terms of strength, Tang Tian was definitely not Benson's opponent. The opponent's wind blade was extremely profound, and was not something that Tang Tian, a rookie who had just peeked into the realm of laws, could compare to. But Tang Tian had once again found his original heart. His state of mind was flawless, his fighting spirit was like a fire, burning to the extreme. He had trained in the zero-energy body for a long time, and the Sin domain had an innate affinity with the zero-energy body, allowing him to be like a fish in water. Adding the enlightenment he had just gained, he was extremely agile. Benson's aura surged. He raised the wind blade in his hand up high, causing the surrounding wind to stop. The thunderous roar seemed to reverberate endlessly in the valley. Ping Xiaoshan saw the opportunity quickly. With a flash, he jumped 70 m high and dodged the chi wave. Come on. Come on. Bang. But the scene in front of him made him unable to smile. Tang Tian's display of tyrannical strength was enough to prove everything. Unknowingly, his mentality had changed. He suddenly thought about his own thoughts and became anxious. His wind blade could easily shatter the red flames, but the powerful force caused his mind to tremble. It was the purest form of physical strength. Tang Tian did not feel anything. His eyes were fixated on Benson. He roared and punched out. The bright red flames enveloped Tang Tian's fist. The red flames surged like a dragon's head roaring. Xiao Feng. The red flames dissipated and a dark and lifeless black line appeared out of nowhere, coiling around Benson's wrist. On one hand, it was because the fighting intent that had been brewing in his body for a long time had nowhere to be released. Adding the suppression from the state of enlightenment, it was already on the verge of exploding. As long as there was a spark, it would explode. But on the other hand, it was because of Benson's strength. With a cold snort, the wind blade in his hand became formless, as though it had disappeared in the air. The ghost face mask remained cold. The young man's pupils became dim, as though he had exhausted all of his strength. Benson's eyes constricted. The fists formed from the red flame's spear. Benson remained calm. He could feel that the opponent's attacks had become even more ferocious, but he knew that it was the final radiance of the setting sun, the sign of the opponent's physical strength being exhausted. The fear brought about by the exhaustion of physical strength made the opponent want to quickly end the battle. Benson originally wanted to say a few words. The various families in the Sin domain were all big families, and if they did not agree with each other, they would draw their swords and be viewed as ordinary people. Benson's wind blade was not some profound law, but in his hands, it was extremely powerful. Even with Benson's rich battle experience facing such a strange person, he was still flustered. Such a degree of law was naturally unable to restrict Benson. Benson snorted. The wind blade in his hand immediately dissipated, transforming into 10 fine blades. Like ice crystals, they coiled around his wrist, causing the spiderwebs to crumble. If it was just that, it would only make him flustered. Other than time, space, life and death, the three most fundamental laws, the other laws did not have much of a difference. On the battlefield, Tang Tian had started to suppress Benson. Under his torrential attacks, Benson was forced to retreat step by step. But veterans with some battle experience would notice that although Benson was retreating, his footwork and rhythm were not messed up at all. Benson retreated slightly, his calloused palms opened up, and the air around his palms flowed like mist. Bang! He suddenly clenched his 5 fingers. A shadow appeared, and the blade hilt appeared in his hands. Bang! Ding ding ding! Suddenly he sensed that the opponent's leg blade had a momentary pause. At this stage, who would care about a street? He did not have any intention of dodging. Facing the shadow, he twisted his body in the air and raised his right leg like a heavy axe. He fiercely chopped down. Tang Tian's eyes constricted. The shadow was as fast as lightning, but Tang Tian's fighting intent was at its peak. His body was like a volcano with countless of magma surging, ready to erupt at any time. Like two rays of lightning they chased each other. Ben Sen's law was extremely unique, gathering wind as a blade. After being immersed in it for 10 years, his blade technique had already gained the charm of the wind laws. Sometimes it was light, sometimes it was heavy, sometimes it was violent, sometimes it was sharp, it was ever-changing. Qi, a blood arrow shot out from Tang Tian's ribs, transforming into a blood mist. Before it could even disperse, it was dispersed by the chaotic flow. Tang Tian was completely berserk. Until now, Ghostface Mask's aura was still blazing like fire. He was like a regiment of flames that would never be extinguished. It was as though the injuries did not affect him at all, as though his physical strength was not depleted at all. The explosive sound of the collision resonated throughout the entire Purple Cuckoo City. He roared in his heart. The two powerful forces clashed and a visible shockwave exploded out, sweeping across the West Street. But do you think you can win just by relying on your willpower? Too naive. The shockwave was as solid as a wall, whistling as it came crashing down. Everyone's expression changed and they all activated their own defenses. The stronger ones only felt their bodies shake while the weaker ones staggered back 7 or 8 steps before they could stop. But to be able to fight with Ben Sen for so long, the other party did not only rely on his mixed and shallow laws, but also his extremely powerful body. Clang, the sound of a blade being unsheathed, a figure flew up and slashed at Tang Tian. Blindly attacking was definitely not a smart move. No matter how astonishing his physical strength was, after a period of time he would definitely be exhausted and weak. Ben Sen was like an experienced hunter, patiently lying in wait, waiting for an opportunity. Ping Xiaoshan, who had a pale face, floated back for another 30 m before stopping. Since young, Ben Sen had received extremely strict grooming, and his body was extremely strong, far surpassing ordinary people. But after personally fighting him, Ben Sen knew that his body was extremely strong, and it was truly unfathomable. This person's fighting intent is truly high. The swordsman muttered. He floated in the air, quietly watching the intense battle below. If that's all, then there is nothing to fear. Inside the purple rain, two figures were like two bolts of lightning frantically chasing and clashing. Ben Sen's aura immediately changed. The originally calm and collected figure suddenly became high-spirited and angry. Chapter 703. It was a pure sword concept, using the coldness of the glacier, yet not losing the original intent of the sword. The swordsman could not help but reveal a look of admiration. Many swordsmen started off by pursuing power and variations, adding in more laws they could increase their power at the start, but it was extremely heterogeneous, and in the later stages, it was extremely difficult to improve. Tang Tian, who was frustrated in his heart, forcefully turned his body and waited. A gust of wind blew past her body. Bang, the blood mist exploded once again. The power was released. Suddenly, a hand extended out from behind and grabbed onto Han Bingning's arm. Han Bingning's body froze. Her aura immediately became like an avalanche, disappearing without a trace. The formless wind was silent. No, how did he find out? Heh. The man in luxurious robes who was spectating from afar was moved. He did not sense any undulations. He could not help but glance at the swordsman in the distance. The swordsman's face also revealed a look of surprise. Another 2 streaks of blood appeared on Tang Tian's shoulders. The red flames turned gray. 2 blood arrows shot out from Tang Tian's legs, causing 2 streaks of blood to appear in the air. The smile on Tang Tian's face disappeared. He exhaled. He grabbed onto Delin and using all of his strength, he threw her in another direction. The surrounding scenery quickly swept past, but Tang Tian's gaze never left the figure on the tower. Ben Sen's palm that had opened up unknowingly suddenly closed. Delin's face was pale white from the sudden change. From her position she could see everything clearly. The gigantic explosion had completely destroyed the West Street, and the ring-shaped shockwave swept out in all directions. Delin's screams continued to sound out, causing Ben Sen's aura to drop. He forcefully turned his body in the air and chased after Delin. How is that possible? Was he pretending all along? Ben Sen's face changed. Before he could react, the wind in front of him suddenly exploded. What was left was a group of nervous guards who looked at each other. No. Ben Sen's roar, even in the roaring shockwave, caused everyone's heart to tremble. The ghostly face that alternated between green and black was silent, but the cold light in its eyes became wild and blazing. Amidst the flying blood mist, the young man stretched his body and twisted his waist in midair. He seemed to be unaware of the increasing number of wounds on his body. He actually found the vent of little wind. With her as the center, the white frost quickly spread out along the ground. She stood proudly, there was no sword in her hand, but the sharp and cold sword essence soared into the sky. Tang Tian quickly pulled out all the light needles on her back. For some reason, the swordsman's breathing suddenly stopped, and he subconsciously tightened his grip on the scabbard. Everyone was shocked by the scale of the explosion. The terrifying shockwave was rampaging and the entire West Street was razed to the ground. The onlookers were doing their best to resist the shockwave. At this time no one noticed Tang Tian flying out. The scene seemed to freeze. His body twisted like a bowstring, full of power and beauty, as if he was about to explode in the next moment. The bloody mist that filled the sky caused this scene to be filled with a breathtaking beauty. It had an unparalleled visual impact. Only those who could stick to their hearts could reach the pinnacle of the sword Dao. He did not look at Grimace. Grimace was no longer as breathtaking as before. The current Grimace was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. When he would die would depend on when Benson would tighten the noose around his neck. Tang Tian punched out, causing red flames to form. Who would have thought that the rough-looking black Benson would do such a thing? The surging guards all had a change in expression and all of them stopped in their tracks. Bang! The shockwave fiercely struck his back. The wounds on his body suddenly burst open and blood flowed out. Tang Tian's eyes almost turned black. He groaned and endured the pain. Wait a minute, that is... The man in luxurious clothes was shocked. He stared intently at Benson, as expected of Black Benson. This time the Mu-Er family's reputation will rise once again. The Mu-Er family had underestimated Benson's strength. It is time to kill you. Goo goo goo. The two of them rolled out for a few meters. The sinister ghost face mask was extremely sinister. His four limbs spread out like a large net. He pounced towards her at an astonishing speed. Tang Tian shook his head and stood up, feeling dizzy. Han Bingning's expression was still ice cold, but her neck was flushed red. Benson's heart was filled with shock. His small wind's killing intent was hidden and invisible. It was as gentle as water. Even the undulations of laws were dispelled by it. Such a killing technique was definitely not something that ghost face mask could sense. Wait a minute. Suddenly, a small black dot grew bigger in her vision. Not good. When Tang Tian realized that something was wrong, the two of them were already unable to stop. He did not resist the force, he was unable to resist at all and his body was flung out. Behind ghost face mask, Tang Tian revealed a pleased smile. He used his hands and feet to hug onto Han Bingning, but in the next moment, Tang Tian's expression froze. Han Bingning's entire body was restricted and she was extremely weak. That is not Hong Yan. Die. Tang Tian's speed was extremely fast, leaving behind afterimages in the air. I never thought of that. There's no more time. Anger. Benson's expression also changed. The swordsman was even more direct. He turned and prepared to leave. He had already lost interest in the battle that had lost all suspense. Is Benson already so strong? In Sin Domain, the strong were respected, and a strong martial artist was able to support an entire family. The Sin Domain originally did not have many people, and after many generations of cruel elimination, only half of them were left. With such a small population, the Sin Domain was unable to walk the path of armies like the Sacred Saint Galaxy. The use of strong martial artists became even more prominent. The awakening of the null flames, the disguise of the null flames as red flames, fusing with his comprehension of conciseness, he threw out all of his trump cards in one go. There was no brilliance, no whistling, even the air did not ripple. They were able to do it, but to be able to conceal the undulations of laws, that was too terrifying. There was only one way to block such an attack, and that was a defensive domain that had no blind spots. Han Bingning's face turned cold. He did not make a move, but his entire aura surged. Tang Tian jumped in fright. He turned to look, only to see a small black dot pouncing towards him at an astonishing speed. He could imagine that Benson was like an enraged lion, a slightly black lion. The red fist flames were like a regiment of flames that fiercely struck the wind gap. In the next moment his eyes constricted. Tang Tian's fist actually struck the air in front of him. Tang Tian grabbed onto Han Bingning's arm with one hand and the black flag with the other. He took a step forward, and the two of them immediately became blurry and disappeared. The wind gap of Gale had always been changing. How can the enemy find it? In that moment, countless thoughts flashed past Ben Sen's mind, but he immediately calmed down, although he was confident that Gale's wind gap was well hidden, and the enemy would not be able to sense it. But he was still clear of the weakness of his technique, so he had meticulously made a plan for the wind gap. De Lin was like an arrow that left the bow, flying towards Tang Tian's left side. Chi. Tang Tian's entire body was covered in blood. In the blink of an eye, his body was covered with more than 10 wounds. Not good. The luxuriously dressed man's thoughts were more focused on the undulations that would be caused by the battle. Ben Sen's powerful performance would definitely break the balance of Purple Cuckoo City, and there would definitely be a storm. De Lin's mind was blank. She was completely scared silly. She felt as though she was going to be devoured. Ha! I caught him. The scale of the explosion was unprecedented. The terrifying shockwave swept past Ben Sen, causing him to feel a wave of energy that could topple mountains and overturn the seas, causing him to lose control of his body. Bang! He was directly flung out. Will I look more handsome if I sing at such a time? Or should I raise my arms and say, "Godlike young lad, go go go"? What should I do to make myself look more powerful? If Ling Su were to see this, he would definitely be in awe of me, right? If not, a Maori, that barbaric bull, would be able to see this. A burst of extremely cold energy caused Ben Sen's face to change. His body became slightly numb. His heart was overwhelmed with shock. What law is this? Tang Tian shot forward and grabbed onto De Lin, who was completely stunned. Ghost Face Mask is finished. He only had time to realize that something was wrong when Ghost Face Mask's fist had already been released. The swordsman who was watching the battle in the sky could not help but exclaim out. His eyes lit up. As a swordsman, he had a higher sensitivity towards sword concepts, and was even more interested in them. Tang Tian, who had released his fist, was as calm as a different person. He floated silently in the air. The green and black Ghost Face Mask remained silent. The blazing light aura in his eyes dimmed down, and what replaced it was a silent determination that was as deep as the abyss. Tang Tian heaved a sigh of relief. He used his hands and legs to crawl to the door and pulled out the flag. The blood bear on the black flag had a face of ridicule, laughing at his sorry state. No matter how Tang Tian looked at it, he felt that it was not pleasing to the eye. No, I have to get Han Bingning to draw it again when I return. The chi waves whistled and crushed toward them, as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was cracking. The air around Tang Tian suddenly became sluggish. An intense sense of danger enveloped Tang Tian's mind. Red Flame Spear? Or this technique? Ben Sen squinted his eyes. It seemed like the opponent was truly at the end of his rope. The laws he used previously were not repeated, and he was actually using the same technique. Seeing that, Ben Sen's eyes were about to pop out. It was not forced at all. It was as though the fist was formed naturally. It could not be any more natural. It was like a flood that broke the dam and surged forth with an unstoppable force. The man in luxurious robes had a serious expression. At their level, the undulations of laws could not be hidden from them. But Ben Sen's attack was formless, and did not have any undulations. It was for this fist. The young man behind the mask twitched his mouth. So painful. The two astonishing powers clashed without any fanciful movements. The wind that originally controlled the flow of air lost control, and caused a chain of explosions that sounded out. Bang bang bang. The feeling of power being overflowing caused the man in luxurious robes and the swordsman's faces to change. Suddenly he sensed something and turned around. Impossible. The guards of the Muir residence seemed to have awoken from a dream. They saw that Tang Tian had to use both his hands and legs to pull out the flag, and knew that his physical strength was exhausted. All of them were roused and surrounded him like a tide. The ghost face mask that was surrounded by the formless killing intent. Its dim eyes suddenly became extremely bright. Chapter 704. Aren't laws like the martial technique system? The gigantic martial technique system was also like a gigantic and lush tree. But all of the martial techniques after being dismantled traced back to the source. They all returned to the fundamental martial techniques. Tang Tian was naturally not discouraged. The difference in realm was never the only factor that determined victory or defeat. If not, he would not have been able to snatch Han Bingning away from the Mu or family. because he suddenly realized that when he deduced from high to low, the fundamental martial techniques had a few minute mistakes and omissions. Voices could be faintly heard from outside. That was also why old Granny Shui saw that Tang Tian's body was so strong, and decided to buy him. Furthermore, why must I adhere to laws? The laws themselves existed. Every punch he threw out contained the laws within it. She sat cross-legged and recovered her strength. Tang Tian placed the mask and the flag into Han Bingning's bosom. Find a place to hide them. For example, Benson, he used the power of the physique to control the wind blades. Black Benson's body was tempered to become extremely strong. Tang Tian was deep in thought. He suddenly started to train in fundamental martial techniques. These two things are currently very eye-catching. If anyone sees them, it will be troublesome. Did my brain get caught in the door? Forget about the mask. I actually used a broken flag to parade around the city. The crucial point is, it is so ugly. Sigh, I have lost so much face. Tang Tian pinched his fingers and pondered. Although the null flames were powerful, but its might was greatly reduced in the Sin domain. Because there was no energy here, the forceful energy destruction effect was not very useful to him. But the zero energy body could be improved, which meant that the power of his physique could become even stronger. She was a quiet person, although her strength had been sealed for the past few days, but she did not give up. She trained in the zero energy body as well, and the uniqueness of the Sin domain was immediately sensed by her intelligent mind. She quietly observed and sensed the laws around her. Tang Tian's heart suddenly moved. Tang Tian's fundamental martial techniques had a rare change. Tang Tian shook slightly and the scabs on his body dispersed like smoke. His exposed skin was no different from before. That's right, fundamental martial techniques were the starting point of all martial techniques. However, the reason why there were still high-level martial techniques was because they needed to change. These changes were derived from fundamental martial techniques. But if it was not deduced, these changes would not be known by others. She knew that today's battle was just a prelude. When Tang Tian took action, he would not stop until he was dead. Her crystal-like eyes flashed with unswerving determination and agitation. Wasn't this her dream, the chance to fight alongside him? The contest between energies was still a contest of quantity. More abundant and denser energy was always the key to victory. The confrontation of laws was a confrontation of quality. The deeper one's understanding of the laws, the greater the power. For example, the spatial law. The spatial law of the Ping clan's stealth art had endless transformations. Tang Tian thought of a few ways to use it and the effects were pretty good. But Tang Tian also knew that it was convenient for him to use these laws, as he was taking advantage of the zero energy body. But his understanding of every single law was very shallow. It was extremely complicated and could only be used to bluff. Benson's wind blade was not considered an unorthodox law, but it could easily dissolve all of his attacks. He suddenly thought of a question that he had neglected in the past. Fundamental martial techniques were the origin of all martial techniques, so why were there still higher-grade martial techniques? If the origin was even more powerful, wouldn't he just directly train in it? There were piles of goods everywhere, but no one was around. Han Bingning relaxed. It meant that they were at least safe. He was completely immersed in his fundamental martial techniques. The power of qi and blood in his body was extremely weak and did not have any brilliance. If a powerful martial artist were to see it, they would be shocked to realize that the fundamental martial techniques in Tang Tian's hands had suddenly become unpredictable. Why are there still such high-grade martial techniques? High-grade martial techniques have even more variations and are able to use even more energy and become even more powerful. Han Bingning turned to look at Tang Tian. Tang Tian's expression was somewhat awkward, but luckily he was wearing a mask and no one could tell. He was cursing the two ladies in his heart, to actually speak ill of the godlike young lad behind his back. You two assholes. Upon thinking of that, Tang Tian became extremely excited. If that thought could be realized, then it would be too powerful. But he quickly calmed down. Although the thought was good, but to him it was impractical to turn complicated into simple. One needed to understand what was complicated. An indescribable feeling started to grow in his heart. Tang Tian nodded his head at Han Bingning, then quietly pushed open the warehouse door and left. His fundamental martial techniques had been tempered thousands of times, and had reached the pinnacle and had been washed clean. Now that she had regained her freedom with the impending battle, she removed all distracting thoughts and focused on training. What is the pinnacle? She had finally caught up to the back of the person she was chasing after, and her mood was extremely calm. Tang Tian, who was in a daze, did not notice that his surroundings were gradually forming. In Sacred Saint Galaxy's Heaven's Road, laws were often used to move energy, allowing the energy to be more efficient and powerful. But if I already know about these variations, can I assimilate them into my fundamental martial techniques? When Han Bingning saw the familiar face, her state of mind calmed down. All the worry and fear that she had for the past few days had all disappeared. Thinking about the battle, even someone as cold as ice like her could not help but be moved. Such a huge commotion, God, will the entire city be destroyed? That scared me to death. Ben Sen's enlightenment on laws was much more powerful and profound than Ping Shaoshan. I can use spatial laws to deal with the red flame spear, but in front of Ben Sen's wind blades it is useless. But it was not the time to speak. He lowered his voice and said, "You hide here for a while, I will come over tonight." Counting it, Tang Tian had already seen 3 completely different martial technique systems. Heaven's Road, Sacred Saint Galaxy, Sin Domain, all 3 were different. The Sacred Saint Galaxy was filled with dense energy, and as a natural saint, their usage of energy had reached an unfathomable level. The Sin Domain was the complete opposite. It did not have any energy, and laws were like fish in the water, clearly visible. Heaven's Road was in between the two with a suitable concentration of energy. It gave birth to a mystical spirit. Fundamental martial techniques were the starting point of all martial techniques, and also the source of all martial techniques. Tang Tian knew that his zero-energy body had advanced a step further. Without any energy, the pure power of the physique was even more vigorous and pure. In the future, as long as Tang Tian's vitals were not injured, his wounds would naturally heal. Tang Tian, who was pleasantly surprised, started to reminisce about the battle. It was his first time fighting with a Sin Domain martial artist, and he had gained a lot. He had to admit that the Sin Domain's martial techniques had opened up a brand new path, and directly pointed to the laws themselves. The martial techniques in Tang Tian's hands started to change. All the martial techniques that he was proficient in, all of them were unleashed by his hands, and he tried to understand the changes. He had trained in many martial techniques before, and after a round of practice he gradually understood them. "Shu, lower your voice. Sister Mingzhu and young Master Qin just went to watch the show. They should be back soon." Han Bingning only felt that the indescribable undulations binding her body had disappeared. She felt extremely relaxed and her vision turned dark. But with Han Bingning's eyesight, the darkness did not affect her at all, and she looked around cautiously. Luckily, the Xue family treated their servants generously, and had prepared many sets of clothes, although they were made of coarse cloth, but Tang Tian did not care. From fundamental martial techniques he had gained enlightenment on the Tao of conciseness, which could not be called a law, but more accurately, it was a way of thinking towards laws. But to Tang Tian, it was the most suitable path. Do laws also have fundamental laws like fundamental martial techniques? The problem now was, in the large riverbed there were countless of stones, and choosing which stone was the biggest problem. After changing his clothes, Tang Tian realized that the wounds on his body had already started to form scabs. That's right, it's like thunder. These transformations do not exist in fundamental martial techniques. It's just that you can't see them. Only when you have trained in high-level martial techniques will you understand the possibilities and transformations that exist. That's right. That brat is too lazy. He is guarding the warehouse, but he actually sleeps like a pig. When young Master Qin came, he was actually snoring. Didn't you see how bad Sister Mingzhu's expression was? Tang Tian suddenly started to train backwards. Starting from high-level martial techniques, he started to train step by step. Every law was not pure. They had many branches, and when they fused with other laws they would form brand new laws. Laws like space, time, life and death, all of these laws were like large and lush trees with trillions of branches. Laws were the laws of the heaven and earth. Laws themselves did not have any power. They were just a trick, and grasping the trick would allow you to save energy. But if you did not even have the initial power, no matter how deep your understanding of laws was, you would not be able to move a small stone. But in the Sin Domain there was no energy. To pry open laws they had to think of another way. The Sin Domain people thought of a way, and that was to use the power of the physique. Tang Tian carefully avoided the people coming and going, and finally returned to his own residence. He lowered his head to look at his clothes, which had been sliced into pieces by Ben Sen's wind blades. Tang Tian slowly realized that his situation was different from others. His zero-energy body had the potential to improve further in the Sin domain, and that was to use laws to strengthen it. Regardless of whether it was in the Sacred Saint Galaxy or Heaven's Road, it was not easy as the two places were filled with energy. But here it was not a problem. Laws were like a riverbed without water. They were exposed and could be easily picked up. The path of the Sin domain was more suitable for Tang Tian. She forcefully suppressed her emotions and calmed herself down. All right. Han Bingning did not hesitate. The warehouse occupied a large area with many containers inside. It was like a maze, and it was extremely easy to hide a person. Extreme. The power of the physique was the true foundation in the Sin domain. The fight between laws was completely different from the fight between energy. The footsteps of the two gradually got further away. The three martial technique systems all had their own specialties, and it was hard to differentiate between them. Energy, spirit, laws, out of the three which was stronger? There was no meaning in such a debate, only suitable or not suitable. Warehouse. Tang Tian's power of the physique was very strong. His zero-energy body was much stronger than the Sin domain people's bodies, because it had been tempered time and time again. But Tang Tian was still not Ben Sen's opponent, because there was a huge disparity in their understanding of laws. Big sister Mingzhu was angered half to death by that Tang brat. I don't know what the old granny was thinking, to actually spend 200,000 to buy such a fool. Our Shui family is a prestigious family. To take in such a vulgar person, it will be a joke. Chapter 705. Mingzhu forced herself to nod her head and turned to leave. She maintained a calm expression on her face, but her heart was already in turmoil. Because she suddenly realized that Ghost Face Mask's physique was extremely similar to the servant Tang Tian in the residence. Tang Tian did not move at all. His snoring was like thunder. Tang Tian suddenly reacted. He finally understood what had happened. The zero-energy body had an innate affinity with laws, and after exhausting the power of the physique, his body was like a sponge that absorbed the surrounding laws. The laws that were compatible with the physique were absorbed into his body, and automatically started to refine Tang Tian's physique. Most importantly, the power of the physique was far more intense than before. Tang Tian moved slightly and could feel the astonishing power contained in his body. Tang Tian did not even have time to cry out, "Paw!" The law fist barrier in front of him instantly crumbled. The congealed viscous air regained its flow. He then remembered that his physical strength had long been exhausted, and at that moment his physical strength was overdrawn, and the power of the physique in his body was not enough to support the move. Tang Tian. The guard was confused. I don't see him. Not good. Tang Tian naturally did not know about it. He was sleeping soundly. In the air, young Master Qin and Mingzhu, who were watching the battle from afar, had pale faces, and did not speak for a long time. The power inside the physique surged and roared in Tang Tian's body. The countless of changing imprints surged endlessly. She did not know what direction the matter would lead to, but she knew that the Purple Cuckoo City was going to be in chaos. Tempering the body with laws. She carefully opened the door and saw Tang Tian lying on the ground, sleeping soundly, his entire body unharmed. Her heart finally calmed down. Mingzhu trembled. She did not even dare to think of such an outcome. Since the other party is able to snatch a comrade from the Muir family, then they can find other families and snatch their comrades back. How will the other families deal with it? The Muir family's Ben Sen's strength had been exposed, and he had suffered a huge loss, so it was even more impossible for him to let the matter rest. Why would he appear again? Tang Tian's eyes darkened. He fell to the ground and fainted. A moment later, a deafening snoring sound was heard. He was exhausted after saving Han Bingning. The power of the flesh and blood in his body had dried up, so he naturally could not complete this punch. Like 10,000 streams returning to the sea, countless tiny streams of energy continuously gathered and strengthened, turning into a torrent. The fist force pushed forward slowly and firmly. Countless changes were faintly discernible, like a tree trunk that had its branches cut off. The only difference was that it was densely covered in large and small marks. Each mark symbolized the branches that had once been there. It was not him. He had just rescued Han Bingning, so he had to keep a low profile. Countless changes appeared in Tang Tian's mind, all of them derived from the fundamental fist technique. Every time a change appeared, the warm energy flowing in his body would become restless, wanting to respond to it. Hearing Tang Tian's voice, Han Bingning appeared quietly. However, what surprised Tang Tian was that there was another person beside her. He immediately checked on his own body. She had seen many troublesome people, but none of them were like the person in front of her, causing her to be at a loss of what to do. Mingzhu rushed into Tang Tian's residence like a gust of wind. Mingzhu bellowed, "Tang Tian, quickly get up. Sleeping at night, sleeping in the day, how can you be so lazy, how can you?" But he was only exhausted and was not injured. The zero-energy body's recovery speed was extremely fast, and automatically allowed Tang Tian to enter a sleeping state, allowing his body to recover faster. Xiao Yao coincidentally passed by, and upon seeing Tang Tian she could not help but call out to Tang Tian, and kindly reminded him, "Tang Tian, don't sleep tonight, you've been slacking off every day, big sister Mingzhu will definitely punish you." Tang Tian opened his mouth and smiled happily. Tang Tian was surprised, he did not know Xiao Yao, but he still thanked her. Seeing that, the others immediately dispersed. Young Miss Mingzhu was not happy. If they were to touch her at such a time, wouldn't that be asking for trouble? But when they looked at Tang Tian, their gazes were filled with curiosity. Young Miss Mingzhu actually had no way to deal with him. His expression froze. Suddenly, Tang Tian's body froze. The power of the physique in his body disappeared without a trace. That was... blah. Tang Tian awoke and felt an indescribable comfort in his body. He subconsciously got up, only to hear a series of popping sounds coming from his body. He was startled. Such a situation had happened before when he had just started training in the zero-energy body. But after that, his body had been tempered for a long time, and no such situation had occurred again. Compared to the senior martial artists, he had spent most of his time on relationships and could not help but feel ashamed. Unknowingly, he was still courteous to Mingzhu, but it was not as intimate as before. Tang Tian's mind was at ease, and forcefully restrained the warm flow of power in his body. Even if there were countless changes in his mind, the flow of power would stop at the point where it was about to change. No one noticed the strangeness in Tang Tian's body. His body was trembling slightly, every strand of his flesh and blood seemed to be opening and closing as though they were breathing. Following the increasing frequency of the trembling, his body started to release a faint light, and threads of faint light aura seeped into Tang Tian's flesh and blood. There were a few times when she wanted to turn back to see if Tang Tian was still there, but she resisted the urge. Damn it! He suddenly noticed the remnant qi in his body. She quickly flew back and returned to the Shui residence, and upon seeing the guards at the door she immediately asked, "Where's Tang Tian?" Young Master Qin saw that Mingzhu's face was slightly pale, and thought that she was frightened by the shocking battle, so he advised her to go back and rest. The zero-energy body had many benefits, but how to improve it, this problem had always been bothering Tang Tian until now. Tang Tian finally understood. That's right, it was the tempering of laws. Laws were the most basic laws of the heaven and earth. Using them to temper the flesh and blood, how strong would the flesh and blood become? Suddenly, Tang Tian thought about the fist that was interrupted before he fainted, and his heart became restless. At that time, if I were to use all my strength to punch, what would the result be? In truth, young Master Qin was equally shocked. The battle had given him an incomparable shock, and only then did he know what was a true martial artist's demeanor. The shrewd and unfathomable Ben Sin and the unbridled ghost face mask, the two of them raised their hands and feet. The strange and unfathomable changes, the power that could destroy the heaven and earth, had opened his eyes and was deeply shocked. When he was at the door, he heard the heaven-shaking snoring sounds inside and his heart calmed down. A light sound came out and the dim room suddenly lit up with a trace of light. An irregular bright red light beam appeared on Tang Tian's fist. The blood, flesh and bones in his body had become unprecedentedly strong. Every muscle was as tough as black gold threads, and his bones were even more unique. When he looked inside, it actually revealed a faint jade luster. The fresh red blood had a faint gold tinge. The life qi in his body was so strong that it seemed to be boiling. The power came from his entire body and converged into his fist. Tang Tian, who was sleeping soundly, muttered, turned over, and laid on the ground with his arms outstretched, like a pancake that was spread out. Mingzhu, who had calmed down, saw that Tang Tian was sleeping soundly, and the anger that he had been suppressing immediately surged up. The light aura became brighter, and the light beam that converged onto Tang Tian's fist became more and more. The rainbow-colored light arcs were like countless of colorful snakes swimming around, transforming into a conical light barrier, The scattered light beams were like a messy big net that appeared in front of Tang Tian. The seemingly slow fist was filled with clouds and smoke, and the vast chi that resembled the starry sky was released. The air in the room seemed to have been sucked in by the fist, and became as sticky as glue, causing Tang Tian's fist to become even slower. He actually fell asleep while guarding the warehouse and even caused me to lose face in front of Xianxia. This guy is too despicable. But looking around, he had no choice but to suppress the restlessness in his heart. If he were to release his fist, the entire house would be gone. Countless of changes swept past Tang Tian's mind, countless laws flashed past Tang Tian's eyes. Mingzhu immediately felt even more sullen. Tang Tian arrived at the warehouse, pushed open the big door, and after entering he closed the door. Mingzhu was so angry that she was trembling, but her good upbringing made her unable to say anything worse. She was about to say that she would chase him out of the Shui residence, but then she remembered that the old lady had spent 200,000 to buy it. If she were to chase him out, wouldn't that be letting him off easy? Mingzhu's heart tightened. She bit her lips and increased her speed, anxiously rushing towards Tang Tian's residence. The servants and maids along the way had never seen young Miss Mingzhu lose her composure, and could not help but look at each other, overwhelmed with shock. She was even more worried that the ghost face mask was Tang Tian. If it was definitely not a good thing for the Shui family. She was sure that from now on, all the families in Purple Cuckoo City would be looking for the ghost face mask. The Shui family will be implicated at that time. Gradually the light aura became dimmer and finally disappeared. Tang Tian's fist slowly pushed forward. Zzz. One after another of different light auras started to light up, as though they were multicolored lightning, converging onto Tang Tian's fist. It was the appearance of laws. Tang Tian's fist seemed to have some sort of mysterious attraction, attracting the laws to shine brightly. Seeing that Tang Tian did not care, Xiao Yao could do nothing about it. Tang Tian felt that his fist was as heavy as a mountain. He clenched his teeth. Every muscle, bone and tendon in his body were trembling at an astonishing frequency. The surging power of the physique surged out from every part of Tang Tian's body. Hearing the commotion behind him, many of the servants had heard the commotion and ran over. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Mingzhu resisted the urge to kick him awake, snorted and turned to leave. Along the way, the servants and maids who saw Tang Tian revealed looks of disdain. He stood up and started to unleash his techniques. After going through the initial tempering of the laws, his body was much stronger than before. His strength had increased by more than 30%. Furthermore, the strength of his body had also increased. Thinking about Han Bingning, seeing that the sky had darkened, he immediately went out and walked towards the warehouse. Seeing that the ghost face mask had successfully snatched the lady from Ben Sen's hands, Mingzhu knew that the matter had blown up. No one cared about the background of the group of people, but after the commotion, the various families had no choice but to face the mysterious guests. Very quickly, everyone dispersed, leaving Tang Tian's residence empty. Chapter 706. Ranked 3rd, is the Softwater Roland family. The Roland family has more yin than yang. Of course they are much better than the Shui family. The Roland family's soft water sleeves mainly trains in water laws. It is unpredictable and uses softness to subdue hardness. The Roland family's people are everyone's most troublesome enemies. Their defensive capabilities are terrifyingly strong, and even if you are stronger than them, it is not easy to defeat them. The current patriarch of the Roland family is Su Roland. In the past, the infamous Sha Kong Lai's right arm was destroyed by her sleeves, and he ended up as a cripple and did not dare to step into Purple Cuckoo City. Tang Tian's face darkened. He clenched his fists tightly. Han Bingning's eyes suddenly lit up. He blurted out, using battle to nurture battle. Suddenly all the killing intent disappeared. Tang Tian felt that there was no use in being angry. I want to squeeze him dry. Tang Tian's heroic spirit soared to the clouds. Hearing that, Tang Tian's face finally changed. Previously, although Ping Xiaoshan had said that they were powerful, but Tang Tian did not have much of an idea. And only when he said that the Mu family was only ranked 5th, did he have the most direct impression. Tang Tian was puzzled. He walked up and pulled out the cloth stuffed in Ping Xiaoshan's mouth and said, "Didn't I tell you not to come and steal golden steel threads the last time? Why are you here again? What do you want?" Tang Tian stared at Ping Xiaoshan with a burning gaze. The other party knows that what I am doing is dangerous, and to choose to rely on me at such a time, there must be something I want from you. Black Benson is only ranked 5th? Tang Tian's face did not look good. He lost his fighting spirit because of the other party's strength? How can such a ridiculous thing happen to this godlike young lad? Everyone agreed to fight shoulder to shoulder. We have come this far together. To give up reason is just cowardice. Tang Tian then came to his senses. He scratched his head. It is easy to teach you. But these things are just something I created casually. No, let me study them for a few days, then I'll teach you. Ping Xiaoshan noticed that Tang Tian was not dejected. Instead, he was full of fighting spirit and had some respect for him, although he was unreliable at times, but in terms of fighting spirit he did not lose to anyone. To many people, fighting spirit was an illusory concept, but in the harsh and cruel Sin domain, people who lacked fighting spirit would find it hard to survive, and that was the reason why Victor's evaluation was not high. Ping Xiaoshan spoke until his mouth was dry. He nodded his head. Yes, this ranking has been in place for many years and everyone agrees with it. He thought for a moment and said, if you want to make a move, you might as well start with Victor. Victor is greedy and lustful. If we capture him and use him as a hostage, the Teopiot family will definitely agree to release him. But the Mu-Er family doesn't have master's companions. Ping Xiaoshan did not understand. Although Ping Xiaoshan had already decided to rely on Tang Tian, but he never expected Tang Tian to ask so directly and was startled. After a moment he laughed bitterly. It's not easy to make a move on any family. Seems like he has some standards. Tang Tian's question was what he had prepared. He relaxed and his words became much smoother. Before this subordinate came, I did ask around. The last time the tide rose, the entire city had a total of 403 people. The Qin family has the most with 227 people. Other than that, the Su family has 92 people, the Roland family has 65, the Teopiot family has 42, the Yu family has 40, and the rest are Master and Miss Han. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. He truly needed a local tyrant. He knew nothing about the Purple Cuckoo City. Regardless of whether it was him or Han Bingning, they were not good at gathering information. If a local tyrant were to help them gather information, it would be much easier. Tang Tian took a deep breath. He regained his composure and the fighting spirit in his eyes reignited. Ping Xiaoshan was dumbstruck. Which family is the easiest to make a move on? Tang Tian did not hide anything and asked directly. Tang Tian then asked, how are they now? Ping Xiaoshan lowered his head and said respectfully, this subordinate hopes to be of service to master. And with so many strong martial artists, it was something to look forward to. Just thinking about it made his blood boil. Ping Xiaoshan said calmly, I wish to learn from master how to use spatial laws to attack and defend. Ping Xiaoshan's expression became awkward. All right, who asked me to steal golden steel threads? Who asked me to do so? He clenched his teeth. Master, the battle in the day will definitely shock the entire city. Master's identity is noble and powerful, while this subordinate's abilities are low. But I grew up in the Purple Cuckoo City. If master needs any information, this subordinate can still be used. Such a powerful man can only be ranked 5th in the Purple Cuckoo City. Han Bingning's gaze could not help but look over. I want to become stronger. Do we need a reason to fight? Tang Tian's eyes released a dazzling light aura. The current him was like a regiment of raging flames. Is there a better sparring partner than Black Benson? I have gained a lot from the previous battle. I want to continue challenging Benson. Tang Tian was an upright person and did not like to take advantage of others. Ping Xiaoshan had helped him greatly and he did not want to fool him. The young man in front of him seemed to have transformed into a death god, his entire body releasing a terrifying killing intent. The air in the room instantly froze. Ping Xiaoshan's entire body tensed up, as though he was being stared at by a dangerous wild beast, causing him to suffocate. This time Ping Xiaoshan had come after careful consideration, and naturally had made preparations. Tang Tian did not care about his own safety to save his own subordinates, so he would definitely want to save others. The matter of the family picking up people was not a secret in the Purple Cuckoo City. Ping Xiaoshan had the heart to ask around and quickly found out. Only by becoming stronger can I save everyone. Ping Xiaoshan's heart warmed. He had been through the world for a long time, and knew that the reminder might seem simple, but it was not easy. Ping Xiaoshan replied gratefully, Thank you, master. Tang Tian listened attentively without the slightest bit of impatience. Against his enemies he would never underestimate them. No. Tang Tian shook his head. I have already found my target. Work for me? Tang Tian was startled. He looked at Ping Xiaoshan suspiciously and suddenly asked, Do you owe money outside? Ping Xiaoshan was startled. Who is master referring to? Ranked fourth, is the Teopiot family. Their phoenix fire is said to be the result of their ancestors' enlightenment on 500 types of fire laws, and using the strongest 13, they fused together to form a flame. Its might is unparalleled. Their relationship with the Roland family is not good, and both parties are like fire and water. Currently, the strongest person in the Teopiot family is called Victor. He is a dissolute man and hangs out in the brothels. He has the qualifications to fight for the position of patriarch, but his actions are too casual and unrestrained, causing the clan elders to be unhappy with him. He does not have any interest in power and only likes to enjoy himself. This time with Ben Sen's display of might, I think he will drop to the 5th place. I can definitely save everyone. I can definitely do it. Looking at Ping Xiaoshan, who was tied up and had something stuffed in his mouth, Tang Tian was startled. Ping Xiaoshan hesitated for a moment. Not too good. Now the various families are spreading the news that this group of people are arrogant and untamed, and need to be ground down, and most of them are in the prisoner barracks. The various families hope to grind down their edges and make them submit in the future. Don't reveal your identity. Tang Tian reminded him. That way, you will not be implicated in the future. You are very familiar with Purple Cuckoo City? Then tell me which other families have my people. Tang Tian could not resist but ask. Such an accurate number immediately made Tang Tian more convinced of Ping Xiaoshan's words. The second-ranked family is the Law Seal Su family. The Su family's life and death law seal mainly trains in one of the 3 great laws, the life and death laws. In every generation of the Su family, there would be an absolutely stunning genius. The current patriarch of the Su family, Su Yi, is only 24 years old this year, and his strength is unfathomable. But the Su family does not care about worldly affairs, and I do not know if it is because they train in the life and death law seal. But every generation of patriarch of the Su family does not live long, and the oldest is only 45 years old. But the Su family has many demonic geniuses, and the life and death law seal has never been passed down. The 5th place is the Mu-Er family. Ping Xiaoshan was startled. He never thought that Tang Tian would say such a thing. Seeing that Ping Xiaoshan was in a daze, Tang Tian thought that he did not understand and explained, That way, even if anything happens to us, it will not affect you. He immediately reacted, Pay, I am a jinx, haha, all of them will be defeated by me. This godlike young lad will definitely defeat all of them. Save everyone. Han Bingning could not help but look at Tang Tian. She sensed that Tang Tian's strength had become even stronger. And the Null Division's people were all in the hands of the 4 families. To save everyone, these 4 strong martial artists that are stronger than Ben Sin is an obstacle that cannot be avoided. Ben Sin. Tang Tian laughed, revealing a mouth full of white teeth. Tang Tian was extremely clear on the strength of the black goods. Even though he had successfully snatched Han Bingning from the other party, but that was only because he was caught off guard. If it was a true life and death battle, the current him would definitely not have a chance of winning against the other party. Seeing that Tang Tian was not angry, he calmed down. He organized his thoughts and said, There are 5 big families in the Purple Cuckoo City: the Purple Cuckoo Qin family, the Law Seal Su family, the Soft Water Roland, the Phoenix Fire Thopiate, and the Mu-Er Steel Guards. The Purple Cuckoo Qin family is the strongest, and the city was built by their ancestors. The Purple Cuckoo King Qinzhen is the undisputed #1 person in the Purple Cuckoo City. No one knows how strong Qinzhen is. He rarely makes a move in his life and very few people know. But since 20 years ago he has firmly occupied the position of the head of the Purple Cuckoo City, and no one has ever doubted or opposed him. Other than Qinzhen, the Qin family has 4 other great generals, all of whom have outstanding military achievements. Any one of them is enough to support an entire family. Usually, most of the Qin family's matters are handled by the 4 great generals. The Mu-Er Steel Guards. In every generation of the Mu-Er family, there would always be a group of loyal and devoted Steel Guards to protect the Mu-Er family. But the current Mu-Er family has long withered, and the current generation of Steel Guards only has been senior. Chapter 707. After leaving the Shui family's warehouse, Ping Xiaoshan's mind was still in a daze. How can such an important matter be decided so casually? Using battle to nurture battle, this phrase is not hard to understand. But how can he be so confident in his own talent? Zhou Xian may thought about it. Third brother means that we should support him? Tang Tian said, "You will hold the fort for me. If I get injured, bring me back." Zhou Xian may did not say anything. Wei Han's words made sense. His gaze turned to the lady who was reading a book. "Second sister, what do you think?" That's too ridiculous." The Mu family had always been hiding their strength and biding their time, giving people the feeling that they were in decline. But Ben Sen's display of strength made everyone think about the almost forgotten Purple Cuckoo fifth family. No one had expected that Ghost Face Mask's sudden appearance would cause the originally calm and tranquil Purple Cuckoo City to suddenly become chaotic. And the situation became extremely complicated. Everyone present were all experienced people, but at that moment they actually had a feeling of not knowing what to do. Everyone knew that he was talking about Ben Sen. Other than Ghost Face Mask, the most unexpected person was Ben. Senator Ben Sen's revealed strength caused everyone to be shocked. In the past few years, Ben Sen did not have any sense of existence and everyone had almost forgotten about him. Her voice was indifferent, as though she did not care about the matter. "It should be." Seeing that the master was not angry, the manager calmed down. He hesitated for a moment. "Do we need to use torture? If he does not have any strength, then so be it. But what if he is strong? Then wouldn't we just gain another enemy?" Zhou Xian shook his head. "All of these prisoners are dead set on Ghost Face Mask. That shows that he is not ordinary. He truly needed a helper. He was not afraid of challenging Ben Sen, although Ben Sen was stronger than him, but it was not as if he did not have the strength to fight. The growth of strength was never easy, and to improve in a short period of time, the only way that Tang Tian could think of was to place himself in a dangerous situation, and that was the only way to stimulate his own potential. Wei Han sneered, "Return? Whose brain is stuck in the door? Spit out the meat in your mouth." That was what Ping Xiaoshan could not understand. Ping Xiaoshan felt that it was too rash of him to rely on him. This guy is already destined to fail. Luckily for me, I only need to learn a few consummate techniques. Thinking about that, Ping Xiaoshan immediately consoled himself. This guy learned the Ping family's stealth techniques for a night, and is able to create a few consummate techniques. Who knows, maybe he can truly become stronger? So what if he's extraordinary? Wei Han snorted. "Do you want us to spit him out?" "Big brother, we can't let these people go. I want to take a look. They're all good seedlings. As long as we nurture them well, our strength will definitely soar." "They won't say." The manager's face was pale. Su and Zhong and Victor have also appeared this time. Zhong Xian said in a deep voice, "Everyone must be careful during this time." Wei Han snorted. "So what? Even if we support him, we would only have 200 over men. An army of 200 over men? Ha, I can destroy them all by myself." The Sin domain was not suitable for armies. Besides, what good will it do us if we support him? "Third brother, all the benefits that you said are fake, but the fat meat that we spit out is real. It was not easy for us to snatch 200 over men. If we were to spit it out like that, if the other families digested it and we did not get anything, we will lose out greatly." Truly confident, Zhong Xian was not angry and nodded his head. "I believe you on this. I got them out, and then?" Mu Zhe's eyes revealed a light aura that caused people's hearts to palpitate. "All of these prisoners have outstanding bodies and do not have any energy. As long as we give them some pointers, they will be able to form an extremely powerful fighting force. They used to be an army. How many years has it been since our Sin domain had an army?" From that angle, it was an unexpected move, but it was a coincidence. Zhong Xian revealed a look of excitement. With Han Bingning around, he could let go of his last bit of apprehension and challenge with all his might. Ping Xiaoshan laughed bitterly. Wei Han's face was also ugly. Su Zhong was Su Ye's younger brother. His talent was extremely high, but the strange thing was that he did not have any interest in the Su family's ultimate technique, Life and Death Law Seal, but was infatuated with the sword. He had always said that he wanted to create his own sword technique, completely breaking away from the Su family's boundary, and had always tried to break through the life and death barrier, but now that he had come out, it meant that he had a huge breakthrough. The wind foreshadowed a coming storm. The Mu Steel Guards were the tradition of the Mu family, and Ben Sen would definitely not give them up. Benson, who was hiding his strength, had placed all of his effort into grooming the new generation of steel guards, and the new generation of steel guards was most likely already formed. The so-called life and death barrier meant that if one did not succeed, they would go into closed-door training until their death. Anyone who dared to challenge the life and death barrier was a person with great perseverance, and everyone respected such people. Xuanzhong is out. Mu Zhe's tone became serious. Seems like the Su family has another great general. Tang Tian immediately called out to her, I will teach you the Ping family's stealth techniques. The Mu family's strength was still lacking compared to the other four families, and with only Benson holding the fort, it would not be easy for them to be surrounded and attacked. Han Bingning did not doubt Tang Tian's decision. She was different from Ping Xiaoshan. She was long used to Crazy Tang's foolish and laughable methods, and in the end he would obtain victory. Foolish to a certain realm, it can be considered as unexpected. After calming down, his mind became clear. If his comprehension is truly high, then it is a good plan. Tang Tian and Benson's battle had shaken the entire city, and the various families are most probably preparing for battle, wary of Tang Tian. I am truly looking forward to it. Who knew if it was because of his self-consolation, but Ping Xiaoshan's anxious state of mind slowly calmed down. That means they recognize who Ghost Face Mask is? Zhong Yenmei asked. I feel that Big Brother is right. Until then, Mu Zhe, who had been quiet the entire time, spoke up. I have asked around. It is not only our Purple Cuckoo City that has benefited, the other cities have as well. There are over 1,000 of them. It is definitely an army, and Ghost Face Mask is most likely the commander of the army. He had a ferocious-looking face, with a deep cross scar on his forehead that was extremely eye-catching. He was one of the 4 great generals, Wei Han. Xuanzhong was not conspicuous among the Su family, adding that he was a rebel. He was the subject of ridicule. But when he set his mind on breaking through the life and death barrier, all the discussions were swept away, and no one dared to disobey him. What about me? Han Bingning looked at Tang Tian. And then, Wei Han was stumped. That night in Purple Cuckoo City, many people were unable to sleep. The person who spoke was around 40 years old. He had a stern expression. He was the head of the Qin family's 4 great generals, Zhong Yenmei. Zhong Yenmei was deeply trusted by Qinzhen. He had been in charge of the internal affairs for many years, and had an extremely high prestige. His way of doing things was steady, and under his management Purple Cuckoo City's influence had steadily increased. When the manager retreated, the burly man by the side could not help but say, Big Brother, you are too cautious. Humph, I have seen many stubborn people. If you hand them to me, I will definitely get them out of you. Mu Zhe was handsome and had a scholarly aura. He looked gentle and harmless. He smiled. One person cannot overturn the heavens. But what if one of the families returns a few of his subordinates? So what? Wei Han straightened his neck and said with a red face, now that he is alone, can he overturn the heavens? The reason why the Qin family was able to suppress the other families, other than Qinzhen's unfathomable strength, the 4 great generals' absolute strength was also a guarantee. The Su family had one more great general, and the threat to the Qin family would increase. The manager immediately agreed. If they were to bump into them now, they would definitely be badly injured. He shook his head. It was not something he could decide. Why waste so much brainpower? His thoughts returned back to his mission. Tang Tian had given him the mission, which was to find out where the remaining prisoners were kept. There's still the black goods. Wei Han said coldly. A fierce glint flashed in his eyes. If not for the ghost face mask causing a ruckus, that black goods would still be hiding. Out of the few big families in Purple Cuckoo City, the one that posed the greatest threat to the Qin family was the Su family. The Su family did not recruit outsiders, and their lifespans were short, but they had many geniuses. Mu Er's generation of steel guards, it's about time for them to show themselves. Mu Zhe suddenly said, Benson, don't tell me that for the past few years, Benson has placed all his thoughts on grooming a new generation of steel guards. Tang Tian did not have any thoughts of luck. Second sister is right. Zhong Yenmei nodded his head. We will first observe for a while. Since the ghost face mask took action against the Muir family, he will definitely take action against the other families. We can observe for a period of time and see if he is worth our investment. When he came out of closed-door training, everyone knew that he had undergone a complete transformation. The lady's gaze finally left the book in her hands, and on her face was a pure silver mask. The pure silver mask flickered with silver light. Her dim pupils were like an unfathomable abyss. It was extremely hard to see. Her hair was multicolored, each and every strand was straight like colorful thorns all sticking out. Wei Han and Mu Zhe nodded their heads at the same time. The four of them had the same opinion. As for Tang Tian's talent and training, the entire Ursa Major constellation, no, the entire Heaven's Road, no one would doubt it. Let's wait, we need to see how capable he is. Did you get him? No need. Zhou Xian muttered. From today onwards, take good care of them and do not casually beat or scold them. It did not matter if they liked him or hated him, but no one could ignore his existence. Borrowing the stimulation of death to ignite one's potential was not a new method. But very few people were willing to do so because the risk was too high, and if they were not careful they would lose their lives. Strength could be slowly accumulated, but they only had one life, and unless it was absolutely necessary, no one wanted to face death. All right. Han Bingning nodded his head straightforwardly and turned to train. Godlike young lad, such a laughable title, had conquered the entire Heaven's Road. After every life and death battle he would definitely be exhausted, covered with cuts and bruises, and at the moment his defense was at zero and there were countless eyes staring at him from the dark. Tang Tian did not want to land in the hands of those thieves. If other people were to encounter such a situation, they would think of a way to find the opponent's weakness, or form an alliance with other powerhouses. But to find someone to spar with? To place their hopes on themselves becoming stronger. Chapter 708. Yes. Han Bingning replied and did not say anything else. With an expert overseeing, it was naturally a good thing for the thieves to disappear. But with such an expert, how could the Shui family rope him in? If they could not rope him in, the master would be strong and the servant weak, and that would not be a good thing. Tang Tian did not dare to alarm her, but suddenly he heard footsteps approaching. He immediately rushed out from where Han Bingning was hiding. Whoosh! In the next moment he appeared in front of the warehouse and opened the door. The size of a sesame seed. Tang Tian was startled. He muttered in his heart, could it be that the golden steel silkworm is a glutton, to be so picky about the size? An indescribable faint aura, like a fish that was hiding in the deep sea, surfaced and caught a glimpse of it. Seeing that the lazy person has some strength, Mingzhu finally understood why the various families treated them as treasures. To the families that were already in balance with the addition of new blood, it would definitely cause their strength to soar. The theft of the golden steel threads in the warehouse was not stopped, although the thieves did not dare to be too impudent, but the daily loss of the golden steel threads was maintained at a stable level. Mingzhu even suspected that the group that stole the golden steel threads had already found a new home. This was the result of the Qin family's strict crackdown on the golden steel threads in the market. If not for the Qin family, the Shui family would have long been riddled with holes. Using benefits to tempt them, young Miss is truly brilliant. Miss Mingzhu was also willing to pay. The golden steel gravel was the excretion of the golden steel silkworm. The golden steel silkworm ate black iron stones as food, produced golden steel threads and excreted silkworm gravel, which was the golden steel gravel. The golden steel silkworm's food was astonishing, but it excreted very little, which was extremely rare. Mingzhu was now a little impressed with the old madam. 200,000 might seem like a lot, but if stealing from the warehouse was banned, then the loss would definitely be more than 200,000. Upon thinking about the scene of him sleeping soundly, Mingzhu's heart surged with an unknown evil fire. But to Han Bingning, who had trained in an energy body, the power of the physique in her body was extremely vigorous. Adding that the zero energy body had an innate affinity with laws, so around her, there were a large number of law threads. Han Bingning's expression was extremely focused. There were many law threads, which meant that she had more choices, but at the same time, to find a law thread that was compatible with her amongst the many law threads, the difficulty was even higher. After the law materialized, one would have to choose the law that they wanted to cultivate. He didn't lose any energy during this period of time. Little Ping has quite a few peers. Tang Tian chuckled and changed the topic. I found some clues these few days. I think in a few days I'll be able to find the big black guy and fight him. She sat cross-legged on the ground as a silent tremor spread out from her body. This was the vibration of her flesh power. One after another, bright strands of light lit up around her. Is there anything else important? Mingzhu looked at the time. She was about to go and discuss business. The Lu family from the Galloping Horse City had sent someone over to discuss business. Seeing the scale of the business group, Mingzhu felt that it was a big business. Only today did she realize that unknowingly her strength had already surpassed her expectations. She calmed her heart, and her gaze that was as sharp as a sword gradually disappeared. Her heart was like a lake mirror, reflecting the starry sky and the colorful shoals of fish. Tang Tian immediately kept quiet. He opened his eyes wide, afraid that he would startle Han Bingning. Xiao Yao looked at Mingzhu and spoke quickly. Ever since little Tang started guarding the warehouse, the golden steel threads have not been damaged. Then I have to thank you, little Tang. Xiao Yao laughed, then continued. The golden steel silkworms feed on black iron stones, but you cannot feed them directly, but you need to shatter them into pieces, each of them the size of a sesame seed. They cannot be too big nor too small. Forget it, let's not bother about him for now. The golden steel gravel was her way of testing the waters, and it all depended on whether Tang Tian took the bait or not. In the warehouse, it was different from the bag of stones. The golden steel gravel was extremely light. If not for the fact that he could feel something inside, Tang Tian would have suspected that the bag was empty. Seeing Xiao Yao retreat, Mingzhu suddenly felt a headache. If Tang Tian truly had the ability to stop the thieves, it meant that he was extremely powerful, and to the Shui family it was a good thing but also a troublesome matter. To the martial artists of the Xin domain, the manifestation of laws was the first step. The laws of the Xin domain were like rocks that were exposed to the air on a dry riverbed. They were clearly visible. Using the power of the flesh and blood, the laws were revealed. At this moment, the laws were like many messy light threads, also known as law threads. They were of different colors and had all sorts of strange properties. The surrounding schools of fish were disappearing at a speed visible to the naked eye, as though they were swallowed by the formless darkness, and Han Bingning's surroundings became dark once again. But it was not easy to digest this piece of meat. Mingzhu had heard many rumors in the past few days. All of them were arrogant and untamed, like tigers and wolves, and completely did not listen to recruitment. If not, they would not be willing to throw them into the prisoner barracks, and think of ways to grind away their unyielding nature. The black iron stones are extremely hard and it takes up a lot of time and energy, and the residence is filled with women, so they do not have enough strength, so we usually hand it over to the people outside to crush them. Who knew that there would be an accident this time, and we are unable to supply them, so we have no choice but to seek help from little Tang. Xiao Yao spoke politely and took out a bag woven with gold threads. Young Miss said that this will take up a lot of time and will be very tiring, so this bag of golden steel gravel will be your reward, little Tang. If it does not work, does it mean that I have to marry him? Wait a minute. Don't let him do it for free. Give him a handful of golden steel gravel. Mingzhu suddenly shouted. Countless of auras surfaced in her mind. Some were distant and faintly discernible. Some were tyrannical and blazing. Some were ice-cold and gloomy. Some were vast and ancient. All of them were different. It was the first time she faced laws directly. In Heaven's Road, laws were always hidden within energy, and training in the zero-energy body was like seeking fire in water. Every step was extremely difficult. Xiao Yao was about to push open the warehouse door, but the door automatically opened, scaring her. When she saw that it was Tang Tian, she heaved a sigh of relief and patted her chest. Little Tang, you scared me to death. This step did not seem difficult, but in truth it was not easy. An ordinary martial artist's power of the physique was abundant enough to allow law threads to materialize, but the number of law threads that could be materialized was directly related to the strength of the physique. When the power of the physique was abundant, it could only materialize the most ordinary and common law threads. Big Sis Xiao Yao, there are still things stored in the warehouse in the middle of the night? Tang Tian was surprised. After staying in the warehouse for a few days, Tang Tian had slowly grasped the pattern. All sorts of goods were stored in the warehouse during the day and never at night. It was the first time he had heard of golden steel gravel, and seeing Xiao Yao's solemn face, he guessed that the golden steel gravel was not cheap. Her gaze was as sharp as a sword as she stared at the chaotic light threads in front of her. Her mind swept past the school of fishes. No sweat will be shed for nothing. During the night, she sensed that a few groups of people were trying to sneak in, but she did not want to expose herself, so she revealed a bit of her sword concept, and immediately intimidated the group of thieves, causing them to escape without a trace. Golden steel gravel? Tang Tian received the gold thread bag in confusion. Tang Tian noticed that Xiao Yao was followed by a few large carriages. Xiao Yao took out a bag of food and gave it to Tang Tian. When Tang Tian received it, he was surprised. It was such a small bag, but it was surprisingly heavy. When he opened it, it was filled with sesame-sized black stone granules. He casually grabbed a handful of the black stone granules and looked at them carefully. All of the black stone granules were smashed very evenly and were of the same size. He casually rubbed them, but the black iron stone granules did not move at all, causing him to be surprised. "What do you need my help for? Sister Xiao Yao, tell me." Tang Tian did not reject her and immediately agreed. Although he was a little stupid, but he was not stupid. He had seen the disdain of the other people in the residence, and Xiao Yao was one of the few that treated him well. Young Miss Mingzhu was an upright person and hated lazy people the most. Mingzhu listened attentively to Xiao Yao's report on the recent accounts. Xiao Yao's logic was clear, and the data was accurate, causing her to nod her head in praise. "With Xiao Yao here, you have saved me a lot of effort." Han Bingning suddenly opened her eyes. Without any hesitation, she locked onto the almost undetectable qi. Her fingers formed a sword seal, and with a gesture, a pale blue light beam entered her sword fingers. Han Bingning closed her eyes and went back into meditation. Xiao Yao was convinced. The following business was extremely important to the Shui family. The Lu family's strength was not inferior to the Qin family, and even if they were to form a good relationship, it would be beneficial to the Shui family. Upon hearing Mingzhu's words, Xiao Yao immediately understood and laughed. "Then I have to send more. This guy is so lazy. I truly need to teach him a lesson." All of the law threads swam around her, like a large and colorful school of fish, gathering and dispersing. Xiao Yao giggled. She was already used to such praises. This immediately roused his spirit, and he immediately opened the gold-threaded bag. Mingzhu was startled. She was surprised and could not help but ponder. Golden steel gravel was a good material. It was extremely sturdy and could be used to refine weapons. But golden steel gravel could not be refined with fire, and required a special refining method. It was because of this limitation that the price of golden steel gravel was not excessive. There were a few groups of people that wanted to sneak in at night, but I released a few sword concepts and they left. Han Bingning said she was originally a quiet person, and even if she stayed in the pitch-black warehouse for a few days, she would not feel annoyed. Xiao Yao was surprised, but she understood. Yes. And coincidentally, the Shui family knew of such a method. Golden steel gravel was the best material to refine weapons. Tang Tian knew just by looking at it. What else could make martial artists scramble for more than a peerless divine weapon? A handful of golden steel gravel to a weapon was like a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. He had to first accumulate enough golden steel gravel, and then obtain the method to refine it. "This time I came especially for you, Xiao Tang." Xiao Yao pursed her lips and laughed. In this period of time, the residence is lacking manpower, and the silkworm workshop is unable to supply the food. After thinking about it, Xiao Yao can only come and beg Xiao Tang. "What a sturdy material. Observe for a period of time." Mingzhu said. "That's right, the silkworm workshop does not have much black iron stones left. Send a batch of black iron stones to the warehouse and let that guy shatter them." Chapter 709. Tang Tian was able to clearly see how the law thread transformed from formless to tangible. The pitch-black strand that was thinner than a strand of hair appeared out of thin air. As soon as it appeared, waves of invisible and intangible ripples slowly spread out with it as the center. To find out what the gray vortex was, the simplest method was to break it open. In terms of training his physique, Tang Tian found it hard to improve further, so he placed all of his focus on laws, and by gaining a deeper understanding of laws he would be able to improve further. Although the strand of life origin essence was weak, but its value was unparalleled. The reason why Tang Tian placed his thoughts on laws was because compared to gaining enlightenment on laws, raising one's life force was more unrealistic. Tang Tian's interest was aroused. Tang Tian's heart moved, but he did not dare to test it out here. Han Bingning was still hidden in the shadows. If he were to disturb her, it would be bad. Furthermore, Tang Tian did not know what would happen if the space exploded. But the most important thing was to break the golden steel gravel. After completing the task, he could return and report to Miss Mingzhu, and did not need to worry about anything else. As for whether or not Tang Tian was able to complete it, whether it was a reward or a punishment, Miss Mingzhu would decide for herself. The power of the physique in his body started to revolve, and a strange law thread started to grow frantically from his fingertips. In the blink of an eye, it had exceeded a foot and swayed in the air like a strand of hair. To Tang Tian, the strongest aspect of the Ping family's stealth technique was its ability to break through space. In Heaven's Road, the only person that Tang Tian had seen that was able to do so was when Little Fool summoned the Saint Sword Ocean Prison. Life force was something that didn't exist, but it did exist. Every living creature's body structure had long since stabilized. The so-called tempering only removed the impurities and strengthened the flesh, but it couldn't increase the upper limit of their life force. How do I break it open? The unstable space was like the most terrifying bomb. The intense sense of danger caused all of Tang Tian's hairs to stand. Tang Tian did not say a word. The energy in his body surged, his flesh and blood surged, suddenly circulating. His 2 fingers were like iron pincers, using all his strength to clamp down on the golden steel gravel. But what Tang Tian didn't expect was that no matter how much strength he used, the golden steel gravel wouldn't budge. These emotions flashed past Tang Tian's mind. Xiaoyao breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. She did not have the confidence to deal with Tang Tian. This guy's style of doing things was often unexpected and difficult to grasp. Xiaoyao also did not dare to guarantee that she could complete the task. Boom. Those faint ripples caused Tang Tian's heart to palpitate inexplicably. He could feel the fluctuations in space. The ability to break through space was definitely very powerful. Tang Tian secretly kept this idea in mind. He had to find an opportunity to try it out. A wave of heat flowed into Tang Tian's body. Tang Tian's body was like a dried-up riverbed. Every drop of rain that landed on the ground would be absorbed cleanly. The law threads crumbled inch by inch and disappeared without a trace. The gray vortex transformed into an extremely fine mist. Inside the mist, a silver light flickered as though there were countless of silver stars floating in the mist. But following that, the silver stars in the mist became even brighter, and very quickly the entire mist had turned silver. The Venus silver mist lingered in the air like a vast galaxy. Time slowly passed. Suddenly Tang Tian, who was seated like a statue, moved. The fine thread did not have any light. Law thread. It was the law thread of the Ping family's stealth technique, one of the branches of spatial laws. Inside the blurry void, Tang Tian's eyes lit up, his state of mind locked onto the law thread. Thinking about the golden steel gravel in the bag, Tang Tian immediately became excited. A light bulb lit up in Tang Tian's mind, and his eyes flashed a look of ecstasy. Tang Tian did not immediately try it out but sat down and thought about it. Yes, yes, yes. Tang Tian, who was completely focused on the golden steel gravel, replied absent-mindedly. Tang Tian guessed that the golden steel gravel's characteristics were most likely related to the tiny gray vortex. He had not figured out the use of the gray vortex, but as a tyrant who had seen all sorts of treasures, he could tell that it was not ordinary. Tang Tian closed his eyes and carefully sensed the changes in his body. After a moment he opened his eyes filled with longing. The thread of life origin essence was definitely a good thing, but it was too little. It was unable to make his body undergo a qualitative change. Tang Tian did not believe it. He tried many methods, but the tiny golden steel gravel did not even have a single crack. Tang Tian's power of the physique had already reached a bottleneck. The powerful whirlpool sword storm had tempered his body to an astonishing degree, and his zero-energy body was already extremely powerful. After the battle with Ben Sin, he had overdrafted his physical strength, and had activated laws to temper his body, causing his physique to be tempered to an unimaginable degree. This thread of qi was the purest life origin essence. The life origin essence's improvement to Tang Tian was far more obvious than others. Tang Tian's body was already tempered to an almost perfect state. Without the interference of impurities, the life origin essence that he absorbed could be even more thoroughly absorbed. Tang Tian did not care about wiping off the blood at the corner of his mouth. He stared straight ahead. It was a pity, although they had grasped the powerful law thread, but they had chosen the wrong direction, and were unable to unleash the true might of the law thread. Tang Tian did not hesitate to keep the golden thread bag. Tang Tian jumped in shock. He quickly found the reason and revealed a bitter smile. In the previous slash, the power of the physique in his body was actually completely exhausted, and the remaining power was not enough to control the law thread so precisely. After regaining his senses, Tang Tian extended his hand towards the thread of life origin essence without saying a word. A golden steel gravel floated in front of him, and Tang Tian focused on controlling the law thread in his hand. The pitch-black law thread suddenly stretched taut, like a blade. It accurately slashed onto the golden steel gravel. Thinking about the huge amount of life origin essence that he was unable to absorb, he felt extremely sullen. The gray mist inside the golden steel gravel is actually life origin essence. This time Tang Tian looked even more carefully. Inside the small transparent golden steel gravel, the gray vortex was slowly revolving, occasionally flickering with a silver light. Tang Tian felt as though a thunder had exploded in his mind. His body trembled. The surging power in his body seemed to have suffered a heavy blow and collapsed. Tang Tian groaned, and a stream of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. The smile on his face became even more bitter. When Xiao Yao led everyone away, Tang Tian immediately took out the golden steel gravel and started to study it again. Without saying a word, he did the same thing, but what he did not expect was that he was actually unable to congeal another law thread. Tang Tian's face changed. His current strength was extremely powerful. Compared to the past, it was many times stronger. Even if it was Heaven's Road's silver-grade star treasures, if they were to land in his hands, he could even break them apart with his bare hands. That's a good way to use it. Tang Tian suddenly realized that he was helpless. In terms of the tyrannical physique, even the strongest blood saint was unable to compare to him. After breaking through the golden steel gravel, the gray mist's transformation was like a phoenix's nirvana. It was gorgeous and dazzling, filled with the throbbing of life. His figure suddenly became blurry. His dim eyes were like the reflection of stars in a water shadow of nothingness, the light rippling slightly. That is life origin essence. Then I will accept it. The golden steel gravel was the size of a river's sand, quietly lying inside the bag. The dark gray color was extremely unremarkable. Tang Tian carefully picked one up and used his fingers to grind it. It was extremely sturdy, even stronger than black iron stones. It was Tang Tian's first time encountering such a situation. Suddenly he was struck with inspiration. He thought of a method: laws. A foreign aura dispersed out, and an indescribable joy surged out from Tang Tian's body. Tang Tian was startled. Every single muscle in his body seemed to be cheering, filled with joy. For example, Tang Tian's body, his muscles were as strong as steel, his bones were comparable to star treasures. Even the ability to produce blood and grow muscles was much stronger than saints. But such tempering was not limitless. When his body was tempered to near perfection, it would be difficult to improve, and that was determined by his life form. At that stage, to improve further, he could only rely on his life essence. The black law thread sliced through the gravel and struck the gray vortex. Tang Tian admired Ping Xiaoshan's ancestor. The law's grade was definitely not low. Furthermore, its aura was extremely weak. If not for Tang Tian's finger congealing, Tang Tian would not have been able to sense it. Even now, with one end connected to Tang Tian's fingertip, its aura was something that Tang Tian could not completely grasp. On one hand, it was because its aura was extremely weak, and on the other hand, it was because its body could freely travel through space. With one end firmly connected to Tang Tian's fingertip, the other end of its body would suddenly disappear and reappear. One could imagine if it were to travel in the air, its movements would be extremely strange and would be extremely difficult to catch. That wisp of life essence could nourish his flesh and blood, but it couldn't immediately help them recover from fatigue. Tang Tian, who was in a terrible mood, turned to look at the piles of black iron stones in the warehouse. But the life essence in front of him allowed Tang Tian to see a glimmer of hope. To any living being, life essence was an extremely nourishing item. It could nourish the body and increase life force. Interesting. He first thought of spatial laws. The Ping family's stealth technique contained spatial laws, but it was just a branch of spatial laws. But spatial laws that were hailed as one of the 3 fundamental laws. Even if it was just a branch, it was still extremely powerful. But even with his full strength, he was unable to do anything to a small golden steel gravel. The dense silver mist was extremely beautiful, but the transformation was not over, as bits of gold light blossomed from the silver mist. Not long later, the silver mist started to sparkle as though the gold gravel was mixed in. The transparent gravel body was effortlessly sliced apart. The transformation was extremely fast, causing Tang Tian to be unable to take it in. This is... Tang Tian's mouth was wide open. In that moment he was stunned. Normally hard objects were usually heavy, but this object was as light as a feather. He placed the golden steel gravel in front of his eyes, and upon closer inspection he could see it clearly. The golden steel gravel was actually transparent and colorless, but there was an extremely small gray whirlpool inside, causing it to look light gray. What caused Tang Tian to feel even more incredulous was that the small whirlpool was actually moving slowly. Then I will be leaving. 3 days later the people from the silkworm workshop will come to collect the food. Xiao Yao smiled at Tang Tian. Chapter 7:10. Tang Tian facepalmed. I am truly stupid. Why did I want to complete that fist? I can try the incomplete version first. It will definitely not consume so much physical strength. The black iron stones were much tougher than he thought, but after witnessing the strength of the golden steel gravel, Tang Tian was not surprised. Luckily, the black iron stones were not so ridiculous that they required spatial law threads to separate. Mingzhu's face finally changed. She said coldly, "Young noble Lu is too complacent. This is Purple Cuckoo City, not Galloping Horse City." Tang Tian's physical strength was already depleted, and after thinking about it he became even more tired and unknowingly he fainted again. It was a pity young noble only allowed him to bring half. The group of people left. Purple Cuckoo City does not only have one Qin family. Lu Lingnan shook his head. If we go overboard we might alarm the other families and cause problems to arise. Tang Tian did not do that. Although he could use his muscles to simulate the vibrations, the efficiency was too low. He did not have much physical strength left, and if he were to simulate the minute collapsing fist he would only be able to shatter a few black iron stones. The minute collapsing fist was a relatively low-level fist technique. It used true power to achieve high-frequency vibrations, and although Tang Tian did not have any true power in his body, it was not a problem for him. His body was extremely tyrannical and could easily simulate the vibrations. She could not even stand properly without the protection of the Qin family. The Shui residence was like a piece of meat, where countless of wolves would pounce on them and devour them. The rhythmic snoring sounds could be heard even through the thick stone walls. Xia was like a black shadow, quietly moving in the darkness and quickly reached the walls of the Shui residence. The guards stationed in the shadows of the Shui residence were chatting softly, completely unaware that someone had passed through them. Xia quickly found the location of the warehouse and following the wall he was like a shadow moving forward without a sound. Mingzhu's body swayed, her face turning pale white. It was not only her. Even Xiao Yao who was behind her had a change in expression. For the Lu family to enter Purple Cuckoo City, the Qin family would definitely be extremely cautious, but until now not a single Qin family member had appeared. The smile on Lu Lingnan's face disappeared. He frowned, he put down the teacup and said expressionlessly, "Seems like Miss Mingzhu will not turn back until she hits the south wall." The Shui family is indeed not anyone's vassal, but without the big tree how long can the Shui family last? He arrived outside the warehouse. All of Mingzhu's energy was sucked out and she fell into the chair in a daze. As he recalled, Tang Tian immediately discovered that the countless deductions and transformations were flooding towards him like a tidal wave. There were countless variations in the fist technique and each variation was a mark. From easy to difficult, from big to small, Tang Tian wanted to choose the most important transformation marks from the tens of thousands of transformation marks and integrate them into his fist technique. A cold sword came out of nowhere and locked onto him. The cold edge of the sword went straight to the back of his neck. His face changed color as his soul flew out of his body. The warehouse door was tightly shut. He leaned against the wall a little surprised. In the letters Zhou Xian's tone was very gentle, but it revealed an unquestionable aura. Zhou Xian said that the Qin family and Lu family were the closest allies, and the alliance between them concerned the future of Purple Cuckoo City and Galloping Horse City. He thought that the Shui family would be able to develop better in the Lu family. He hoped that the Shui family would be able to see the bigger picture and move to Galloping Horse City. The Shui family was extremely important to the alliance. He said that if the Shui family met with any problems in the future, they could find the Qin family and would definitely help. Mingzhu's expression turned cold and said indifferently, "My Shui family does not have the fortune to enjoy the big tree that is the Lu family. If the Liu family wants to buy the fabric, the market price will do. If it's anything else, please keep your mouth shut. Seems like Miss Mingzhu will not give up until you see the coffin. Lu Lingnan sighed. He took out a letter from his bosom and flicked it, causing it to fly to Mingzhu. Miss Mingzhu, why don't you take a look first? There's someone snoring inside. But following that, an unprecedented rage surged in her heart. Although the Shui family relied on the Qin family for protection, they were not their vassals. But Zhou Xian may actually treated them like a vassal. Another subordinate said, "Do you want to light a fire?" He licked his lips and extended his hand out to grab the golden steel threads. Upon walking out of the Shui residence, one of Lu Lingnan's subordinates asked, "Young master, what do we do?" He finally understood why his young master had his eyes on the Shui family. Luckily, his young master only wanted him to steal half of the golden steel threads. If not, with so many goods, even if they were to use carriages to pull them, who knew how many carriages would be needed to pull them all? But the Qin family's intention to Xianxia was the best. Such a terrible defense was completely useless. The few ladies behind Mingzhu all revealed looks of anger. They never thought that the Liu family would actually want to swallow up the Shui family, and they all looked at Lu Lingnan and his men in anger. Tang Tian calmed himself down. He was slowly reminiscing about the minute collapsing fist. Haha, rumors say that Miss Mingzhu is an unyielding character. From what I have seen, it seems to be true. Lu Lingnan's smile did not change and said slowly, "The reason why we discussed with Miss Mingzhu is because we respect Miss Mingzhu's character. If not, with the Liu family's strength, if we wanted to take anything, what can't we do?" He thought about law. The sound of snoring was like thunder. The person guarding the warehouse was sleeping soundly and was a very young man. When Mingzhu saw the words to Miss Mingzhu, her body swayed, her face without a trace of blood. She was extremely familiar with the handwriting. It was the Qin family's general Zhou Xian Mei's handwriting. Zhou Xian Mei controlled the internal affairs of the Qin family, and had many interactions with the Shui family. Hearing that, the few of them nodded their heads. Thinking about the unfathomable Qin family, Xia's heart turned cold. Mingzhu's face was pale white, but she raised her head. A look of stubbornness flashed past her eyes and said, "The Shui family has never been anyone's subordinate. The fate of the Shui family will be decided by us. We do not need to trouble others." Mingzhu opened the letter with trembling hands. Xia's eyes flashed with a look of disdain. He quickly found the location of the golden steel threads. The golden steel threads were not easy to obtain, and the entire warehouse did not have more than 300 kilograms of golden steel threads. Xia alone could easily bring them all away. The Qin family was never easy to get along with. His mouth curled into a sneer. He stood up. "We will visit again in a few days. Maybe Miss Mingzhu will change her mind?" Although it was not completed, but the might of the fist had already revealed its extraordinary might. Tang Tian believed that the might of the fist would definitely surpass all of the martial techniques and spirit techniques that he had seen so far. The other Liu family members all had arrogant expressions, their mouths revealing looks of disdain. The requirement for the size of the black iron stones was extremely strict, and Tang Tian could not help but think about the minute collapsing fist that he used to practice in the crushed stone field. In terms of shattering the stone, the minute collapsing fist was undoubtedly the most suitable method. "Miss Mingzhu, what do you think?" Lu Lingnan laughed. He unrestrainedly admired Mingzhu's beauty, a look of greed flashing past his eyes. "I have long heard that the Shui family has a beauty, and it truly lives up to its name." The last time when Tang Tian was in the state of enlightenment, the myriad of changes were like fleeting shadows that flashed past his mind effortlessly. But now that he was slowly deducing it, it became extremely dry and tedious and extremely tiring. He suddenly thought about the fist that he was not able to complete, and his eyes lit up. "That is a good choice." Tang Tian immediately revealed a bitter smile. The fist that he was unable to complete was because he had exhausted all of his stamina. Now that he did not have much stamina left, he was unable to complete the fist. The smile on Lu Lingnan's face became even wider, as though he was a cat playing with a mouse. He raised his teacup and gently took a sip. "That's right, this is Purple Cuckoo City, the Qin family's Purple Cuckoo City. But Miss Mingzhu, have you ever thought about why the Qin family is not here when I have come to the Shui residence?" Truly overestimating herself, we should let this arrogant woman wake up. A sinister look flashed past Lu Lingnan's eyes. He scoffed. Without the protection of the Qin family, what about the Shui family? I heard that the Shui family's warehouse is frequently robbed and the Shui family is helpless. They do not even have this ability and you still want to be stubborn? Taixia, go to the Shui family's warehouse tonight and take half of the golden steel threads. The guards of the Shui family were truly riddled with holes, they were extremely weak and their standards were extremely bad. Taixia thought for a moment and understood most likely the Qin family had purposely left behind these omissions. The Qin family did not have the intention to pull the Shui family out of their predicament, and the more unstable the Shui family was, the more they relied on the Qin family. Actually, following our Lu family will only be better than the Qin family. Lu Lingnan's tongue was glib. The patriarch has already said as long as the Shui family submits, they will be treated well. As the saying goes, it is good to enjoy the shade under a big tree. The Lu family is a big tree that will shelter the Shui family from the wind and rain. All of you just need to focus on raising the silkworms and do not need to worry about anything else. It is so peaceful. He raised his head to look at the window and once again transformed into a shadow. The shadow stuck close to the wall and quietly crawled upwards. Following that, the shadow was like a strange liquid that flowed through the cracks of the window and seeped in. A look of disdain flashed past Taixia's eyes. The Shui family has truly sunk to the bottom. The guards were chatting and he already felt that he was slacking off. The guards of the warehouse are actually sleeping so soundly. I have never heard of such a thing before. Taixia was a skinny man of about 40 years of age with a gloomy expression. In the discussion hall, although it was deep into the night, the lights were still bright, the atmosphere was extremely tense, both sides were ready to fight. Recently he had been using laws more and had become more familiar with them. Taixia did not say a word, he turned and disappeared into the night. He did not have much power left in his body. This is too much. An indescribable despair pervaded Mingzhu's heart. She had never thought that the Qin family would give up on the Shui family. Suddenly his arm froze in mid-air, his body became as stiff as steel and he did not dare move. The goods piled up like a mountain in the warehouse made Taixia feel the wealth of the Shui family. Tang Tian did what he thought about and carefully thought about the fist. At that time his initial thought was to turn the complicated into simple, reverse the flow, and condense all the variations of the fist technique into one fist. Tang Tian did not panic, since he had decided on the direction he would start with the easy ones. When he was training with Bing he had long learned how to handle such problems. He did not care about the black iron rock, he sat cross-legged and started to think. What a big piece of meat. Chapter 7:11. It's him. Zhou Xian nodded his head. I never thought that such a fierce person would be recruited by him. Lu Lingnan is truly extraordinary. In the depths of the Xin domain, there were still many places that no one dared to step into. The various families had been exiled to the Xin domain for the past few hundred years, and had only just stabilized their footing, and did not have the strength to go deeper into the barren lands. B-class infamous. Mingzhu's face changed. The person beside Lu Lingnan is Taixia. Shui Yan, who was in charge of gathering information, paled. She had been away from home for a long time, so her understanding of these matters far surpassed others. She suppressed the fear in her heart. Taixia has a notorious reputation, he has killed countless of people and has always been a lone ranger. I never expected him to be recruited by Lu Lingnan. He's a B-class infamous. The two of them no longer had any interest in chatting. Qin Zishan was already the most outstanding amongst the younger generation of the Qin clan, but compared to Lu Lingnan, the difference was extremely glaring. The other women exchanged glances with one another. The panic on their faces gradually dissipated. But this made him suffer even more. Lu Lingnan, on the other hand, calmed down. Once the other clans interfered, things would become complicated. They knew that their eldest sister was right. Once the Lu family knew the secret of the golden steel silkworm, they would no longer have any value. The Shui residence would be torn apart and they would be sent to the hands of the Shui family disciples. Taixia's face revealed a sinister smile, seeking death. Han Bingning had become stronger. At this point we can only rely on ourselves. Mingzhu regained her composure, her eyes flashed with flames. Even if we beg for mercy, they will not let us go. They will make us spit out all the secrets of the Vajra silkworm. At that time we will have no value and will only become their playthings. Instead of being humiliated for nothing, why not fight to the death? He was extremely clear of Xia's strength, and it was impossible for the Shui family to have a martial artist that could threaten Xia. Who could it be? Could it be that other families had interfered? The other families in Purple Cuckoo City? Everyone in the Shui residence could not sleep at all. The lights were bright. Out of the 15 guards, only one had survived. Their ferocity was terrifying to the extreme. Zhou Xian's mind was blank, his face was a mix of green and white, his eyes were at a loss. As the son of an aristocratic family, he wasn't a good-for-nothing either. Naturally, he could see the pros and cons clearly. To be able to rise to the ranks of B-rank infamous men, they were all famous people, they could be found in every corner of the Xin domain, and no one dared to provoke them. A B-class infamous was already considered a top-notch expert. One should know that there were only 149 B-class infamous in total. Zhou Xian lowered his head and stood in front of Zhou Xian. He clenched his fists tightly. He never thought that his eldest uncle would actually hand over the Shui family to the Lu family. Thinking about young Miss Mingzhu falling into the hands of the Lu family, his heart felt like it was being stabbed by a knife, and his eyes were about to split open. Zishan likes Miss Mingzhu, I know. Zhou Xian did not avoid the question and spoke warmly. The Lu family is using 200 null division prisoners to exchange for the Shui family. Zishan, what do you think, should we do the exchange or not? Qin Zishan walked out of Zhou Xian's study in a daze. His expression was blank. He yawned and opened his drowsy eyes. He had slept very soundly and felt an indescribable sense of comfort throughout his body. Why did I fall asleep? Tang Tian scratched his head in confusion. But one thing was for sure, regardless of where the null division prisoners came from, to the various families of the Xin domain that lacked manpower, they were the best replenishment. Furthermore, their bodies were extremely outstanding, and as long as they were nurtured they would become elites. Ever since Ghostface Mask shouted out the Ursa Major Null Division, all of the prisoners had a special name, the Null Division prisoners. All of the Null Division prisoners had outstanding physiques. And what was surprising was that they did not have any energy in their bodies. There were people who suspected that the Null Division prisoners were the real Xin domain people. If not, how could they not have any energy in their bodies? With the current market price of the Null Division prisoners, the price of 200 prisoners would definitely exceed the Shui family. 200 prisoners, as long as they were digested, it was enough to change the strength and position of a family. Outside the house, the old granny of the Shui family revealed a gratified smile when she heard the high morale of the ladies inside. He did not hesitate to use his life-saving consummate technique, his face revealing an abnormal flush of red. He shot out like a bolt of lightning towards the door of the warehouse. Although the 4 great generals did not have the surname Qin, but their positions in the Qin family were extremely high, and all of the disciples of the Qin family had to pay their respects to them. Suddenly he saw a person from the corner of his eyes. Wrong information. Coincidentally, he walked to the window and through it he could see the Shui residence in the distance. The slightly dilapidated Shui residence seemed to be hiding a huge bloody mouth, ready to devour anyone. Tiger and wolf. A look of admiration flashed past Muze's eyes. He looks to be slippery, but in truth he is arrogant and fierce, and has the disposition of an ambitious and ruthless person. The person beside him is Xia, right? After waiting for another half an hour, Xia was still nowhere to be seen. Lu Lingnan could no longer sit still. He stood up and paced back and forth, his expression becoming more and more anxious. Even Qin Zishan himself was unable to reject such a deal. Tang Tian muttered in his heart and slowly walked towards Xia. As long as I can escape from the warehouse. Zhou Xian stood up and walked to him. He patted his shoulders and consoled him. Uncle knows I owe you this time. Don't worry, no matter what, Uncle will find a great beauty for you. I heard that the Lu family has a daughter who is as beautiful as a flower, even more beautiful than pearls, and has a warm and gentle personality, good at understanding others, and is suitable for you, Zishan. After a period of time she will come to our Qin family as a guest. Why not, Zishan? Take a look and see if you like her. If you like her, Uncle will go and talk to you. Seeing Qin Zishan's speechless expression, Zhou Xian's tone remained warm. From this deal we have profited. Furthermore, the friendship of the Lu family is even more important to our Qin family. Once the Qin and Lu families form an alliance, it means that the Purple Cuckoo City and Galloping Horse City, The two big cities will form an alliance, and we will be able to protect ourselves, even if the situation becomes chaotic. With Zhou Xian's ability, I believe you can see the pros and cons of this. Xianxia was surprised but immediately became ecstatic. Chance. Infamous Xianxia was a true savage. His hands were stained with blood and he had killed countless people. In the Sin domain there was no good or evil, only the strong and the weak, and the strong ruled. To be able to subdue such a savage like Xianxia, it showed Lu Lingnan's strength. He exclaimed out loud and turned his head. Below the 12 were the B rank infamous. Big sister. Shui Yan was shocked by Mingzhu's decision. Big sister is right. If they want to swallow us up, we will have to see if they have the ability to do so. Shui Yan replied. Young people should prioritize their career. How can they be so sentimental? Zhong Yan said. He then changed the topic. Lu Lingnan, what do you think? In the Sin domain, the infamous were people who specialized in the underworld. They did not attach themselves to any aristocratic families, and were usually independent, ruthless and merciless. Killing was second nature to them. Burning, killing and plundering, there was nothing they would not do. According to their strength and reputation, they were separated into A, B, C and D. There were only 12 A rank infamous in the entire Sin domain, and they were at the top of the food chain in the entire Sin domain. Even the big families did not want to be enemies with them. We will recruit people. Mingzhu said resolutely. We will take out all of our fabrics and golden steel threads and recruit experts. No wonder Mingzhu and the rest had a change in expression. There was once a B rank infamous who coveted the wealth of the Shui family. If it wasn't for the Qin clan's General Wei Han personally coming out to scare this person away, the Shui residence would have already been destroyed. That experience was engraved in Mingzhu and the rest's hearts. They saw with their own eyes that the expert they hired with a high salary was killed like a piece of paper in front of the B-class infamous. Now the Shui family's guards were far weaker than they were back then. He never thought that the Lu family would actually be willing to exchange 200 Null Division prisoners for the Shui family. Lu Lingnan would definitely not let this matter rest. It was too easy for him to deal with the Shui clan. The faces of the others turned pale as well. Yeah. What should he do now? We will split up. Mingzhu said solemnly. All of our valuables are just worldly possessions. As long as we can protect the Shui family and the secret of the golden steel silkworm, the Shui family can rise again. Xia's entire body was drenched in perspiration. His body was extremely stiff and he did not dare to move. He heard footsteps and guessed that the guard who had just fallen asleep had woken up, but he still didn't dare to make any movements. He had a strong premonition that if he made the slightest movement he would be pierced by the sword. All of the Shui residence's fabrics and vudra threads were extremely valuable. As for being arrogant and unruly, that was never a problem for them. Qin Zishan suddenly raised his head, his face was filled with shock. He opened his mouth but no words came out. The Shui family actually has such a terrifying expert. Zhong Xian looked at his nephew in front of him and laughed. He is still young. Mingzhu bit her lips tightly. Her lips were stained with blood. Her heart was filled with despair. Just Xianxia alone was enough to flatten the entire Shui residence. In the past they could still rely on the Qin family's protection, but now... Qin family. The man stood in front of the golden steel threads, his body fixed like a statue. Tang Tian understood. The man was locked down by Han Bingning's sword concept, and did not dare to move. To be able to do that, it required at least the standard of the Qin family's 4 great generals. For the other families, it required at least the patriarch to make a move. Mu Zhe walked out from behind the bookshelf, his face filled with emotions. At this time he was extremely sure that something had happened. But as time passed he opened his eyes, and his expression started to become uneasy. Why isn't Xianxia back yet? It has already been 2 hours and according to the time Xianxia should be back. We can go to the other families. The Qin family has silently allowed the Lu family to swallow us, but they will definitely not openly help the Lu family against us. Furthermore, we are Purple Cuckoo City's people, and the Qin family is openly helping outsiders to swallow our own family. What will the other families think? Xiao Yao, who had regained her calmness, her eyes lit up. A figure blocked in front of him. It was the guard who had fallen asleep. He had never thought that the place that he thought would never have an accident would actually have an accident. Pity Zishan is still lacking. This time it has been tough on Zishan. Tang Tian reacted and was extremely happy. After being happy, he placed his attention on the thief. After waiting for another hour, the anxiousness on Lu Lingnan's face disappeared, and replacing it was an ashen green. There are so many thieves in this place. In the next second, the smile on his face froze. Just at that moment, the sword concept that was everywhere suddenly disappeared. Although the Shui family's fabrics were outstanding in defense, but in the Sin domain there were other substitutes. Lu Lingnan returned to the inn and closed his eyes to rest. Inside the warehouse, Tang Tian, who had slept for 8 hours, finally woke up. Taixia did not return. He was either injured, restrained, or killed. Chapter 7:12. The dazzling light that caused Taixia's soul to fly once again appeared. Tang Tian had tasted the sweetness from Ping Xiaoshan the last time, and thus did the same to Taixia. But after understanding flowing night, he was disappointed. It was not that the night laws were not sharp, in fact its might was much stronger than the Ping family's stealth techniques, but to him, it had a huge limitation. The Ping family's stealth techniques were a branch of spatial laws, and its potential was even greater, allowing for a wider range of deductions. This time the envoy is Lu Lingnan, an outstanding figure of the Lu family. The Galloping Horse City's Lu family is a family even stronger than the Qin family. Lu Lingnan is truly capable to actually be able to recruit Taixia. Wu family? Tang Tian was slightly confused, but upon hearing the word, work like a horse, his eyes lit up. He patted Taixia's shoulder and said loudly, good. His body made a strange turn in the air, and like an angry arrow he shot towards the door once again. His movements were extremely smooth, as though he was making a feint when he pounced towards the window. It was not loud, but to Taixia's ears, it was like thunder. A black figure appeared in front of him without any warning, blocking the light. Quickly escape. After spitting out 2 mouthfuls of blood, Taixia's speed did not decrease, but instead increased. He became a black figure, bouncing up and pouncing towards the window. The black arm shield shattered. Taixia was struck by a heavy blow, and spat out another mouthful of blood. This time, without waiting for Taixia to dodge, another fist flew out. This lowly one surrenders. Taixia did not have any intention to fight. He knew that he had kicked a metal board, and to be able to escape with his life was already a blessing. The blood qi in his body was activated to its maximum. He could no longer care about the injuries to his body, and frantically activated his life-saving secret technique. Just at that moment, the conversation at the table beside him attracted his interest. In that moment he made a decision. His mind was filled with only one word. The Shui family's warehouse actually had 2 strong martial artists. If it takes so much effort to deal with a silk thief, how can I fight with Benson? Against a silk thief, 1 move should be enough. Although the silk thief in front of him was stronger than Ping Xiaoshan, but to Tang Tian, how good could a silk thief be? Well, of course he had heard of Suisitu's notoriety. There were always 12 A-class savages, and all of them were powerhouses of the dark world. Taixia had actually obtained Suisitu's inheritance. The Shui residence was in danger. But this fist caused Taixia's spirit to scatter. The vast aura was obviously able to topple the mountains and overturn the seas, but the air in the entire room seemed to have congealed. Not a single speck of dust flew up, not a single ripple was formed. The multicolored law threads crisscrossed and fused together. Who said that the Shui residence had no experts? Tang Tian was surprised. This guy was really slippery. He was obviously beaten into a sorry state, but he could always escape at the critical moment. The punch arrived. Using the diamond thread to tie people up was a bit of a waste, but it was definitely reliable. Surging blood energy rumbled through his body like lava. At this moment his strength broke through the limits of the past. He was unprecedentedly powerful. However, he still didn't dare to hesitate. He frantically rushed towards the window. He had never seen such an illogical, strange, and terrifying punch. Seeing that Tang Tian's expression was not good, Taixia's heart sank and immediately tried to flatter him. Master, the Lu family will definitely not let this matter rest. We need to make preparations. This lowly one will follow Master from now on. As long as Master gives the order, I will be willing to go through fire and water and do anything for you. The sword concept that enveloped him made him feel as though there was a blade on his back and a sword at his throat. Taixia did not dare to move. His face became as white as paper, his eyes sunk in and his skin became withered. Xianxia? Oh my god. Don't tell me it's the B-rank infamous Xianxia. Bang. The beauty in front of him was the one that was saved by Ghost Face Mask, and Xianxia even knew her name, Null Division Han Bingning. The opponent's strength was not something he could contend against. Thinking that Master Ghost Face Mask was still in the Shui residence, he immediately perked up his ears. Tang Tian brought Xianxia to the front of the black iron stone, and removed the diamond threads on his body. Shatter them all and do a good job. Just now his black shield had shattered so easily, causing Xianxia to feel despair. All of the law threads were not high grade, any one of them or a few of them were definitely unable to threaten his night shield. Xianxia felt as though he was going crazy. He had never seen anyone who could produce over 100 law threads at the same time. The air in the warehouse suddenly froze. Xianxia was dumbstruck. The bright law threads that were like multicolored lightning enveloped his fist, releasing a multicolored light aura. Galloping Horse City's Lu family? Shui residence? The young man in front of me is the Null Division Ghost Face Mask. Lowering his waist into a horse stance, his fist was filled with power. An aura brimming with destruction surged out from his body like a storm. The fist that was covered with chaotic law threads smashed onto the black shield. I want to cry. This is the public enemy of the entire Sin domain. This is inhumane. Humph. Ghost Face Mask. Xianxia immediately nodded his head. He was as docile as a sheep. He did not have any thoughts of escaping, not even a trace. When Han Bingning walked out from the corner, he was stunned and suddenly thought about the news he had heard about the Purple Cuckoo City. A man wearing a ghost mask and carrying a blood flag had snatched a Null Division lady from Black Ben Senator before she left. The woman revealed her sword intent. Countless fist technique variations and imprints appeared in Tang Tian's mind. ZZZ, an even more astonishing number of law threads converged at an astonishing speed on Tang Tian's right fist. The unstoppable power caused Xianxia to feel a sweetness in his throat, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The experienced Xianxia did not give up even in such a dangerous situation. He borrowed the power and retreated. He did not have any thoughts of fighting. There was only one thought in his mind: escape. None. Well, heavy. Two. A pitch-black arm shield appeared on his crossed arms, blocking in front of him. Tang Tian was dissatisfied. The light that shone through the window was extremely adorable in his eyes. As long as he passed through it, he would be able to survive. For example, the spatial technique that Tang Tian had created from the Ping family's stealth techniques was extremely powerful. And following his deeper understanding of spatial laws, the room for improvement became even bigger. Run, run, run. He used the last bit of his blood to twist his body, and like an open flatbread he pounced onto the ground. His 4 limbs were on the ground and his face was buried deep into the ground. Over 100 different types of law threads, corroding at the same time. Who could block it? Who could? Many ants can bite an elephant to death. Many soldiers can kill a general. Unreasonable. Without technique, without tactics, without coordination. Unreasonable against the rules. His left leg took half a step forward, his waist slowly lowered, his left hand extended forward, his right hand clenched together as though he was pulling a bow. He slowly moved backwards. The unhappy Tang Tian's expression became serious. He looked at Xianxia, who was shooting towards the window, but did not have any intention of chasing. So Ping Xiaoshan was extremely cautious. Suddenly the other party appeared out of thin air and blocked in front of Xianxia. His pupils constricted again. Xianxia's pupils dilated. A dazzling light aura suddenly pierced through the darkness, and reflected the frozen smile on his face. When Ping Xiaoshan heard the words, "flowing night," his wine cup trembled again. Xianxia, who had lived on the edge of a knife for years, was extremely sensitive to the danger of death. On the surface of the black arm shield, there were many different colored law threads that formed a bewitching colored spiderweb. As usual, Ping Xiaoshan was drinking wine in the inn. His gaze was searching everywhere without anyone noticing. He remembered his mission and knew that it was not easy to find out the exact location of the prisoners. This is flowing night? Tang Tian stared at Xianxia, who was tied up like a palm, his face filled with disappointment. More importantly, none of them were the same. Xianxia's eyes were red. Seeing that the window was just 2 m away from him, Xianxia was ecstatic. As long as he could rush out, he had 10,000 ways to leave alive. Suddenly his body froze. Taixia's face changed. Previously when the air froze, it had already caused his heart to jump. But this time it was even more thorough and the air around him had become like glue. Be rank infamous man. Those 4 words caused Ping Xiaoshan's hand that was holding onto the wine cup to tremble. Han Bingning was naturally even more uninterested. Furthermore, Master's movements in the past 2 days were too big. The Muir family was covered in dust, and all the families were currently facing a great enemy. The news that he had obtained was extremely sensitive, and if he was not careful he would attract the attention of all the families. Ping Xiaoshan knew his own weight. All the big families could casually extend a finger and crush him like an ant, and if he were to provoke them he would definitely die. When Taixia understood he almost cried. So Tang Tian was not interested in flowing night. That's him. Be rank infamous man, that is a truly ferocious man. Upon being recruited he will definitely be a fearsome general. Before he was 30 he was not famous, but after that he obtained the inheritance of flowing night, and his strength soared. Do you know about flowing night? That was the absolute technique of the A-rank infamous Swiss C2. It specializes in night laws, and is most suitable for assassinations in the night. The number of people that have died in Taixia's hands are countless. Taixia's heart turned cold. Taixia adjusted his state of mind and immediately became obedient, allowing Tang Tian to tie him up, and without hiding anything he handed over flowing night. His life was in someone else's hands. To play any tricks at such a time was courting death. The person who inquired for information should be hacked to pieces. He was able to snatch people from Black Ben Sen's hands. With such a person overseeing things, I actually foolishly entered. My heart feels stifled. Thinking about when he entered, the other party was actually sleeping soundly. His snoring was like thunder. His heart was filled with grief and indignation. You are so strong, but you are still pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Is there a need for that? Is there a need for that? Are you even giving us a way out? Taixia quivered and immediately revealed a loyal and devoted smile on his face. At the moment of life and death, his survival instincts made him do one thing. He instinctively retracted his body and crossed his arms, blocking in front of him. Both of his arms revealed a strange black color, and black law threads emerged from his arms, rising and converging like mist. The shield of night appeared once again, barely blocking the attack. Taixia could not care about anything else. While spitting out blood, he forcefully twisted his body to escape, drawing an arc of blood mist in the air. A wise man submits to circumstances. Riches and honor depend on one's mood. If one is too powerful, they will definitely be subdued. There are no experts in the Shui family. To be able to be ranked as a B-ranked infamous person, Taixia's experience in battles was plentiful, and the number of people he had killed was something few could compare to. Light rays shone in from the window, shining on the black figure's back. Taixia only saw a human-shaped black figure in the light. The other party's expression was shrouded in the shadows, and he could not see anything. I am truly a joke. Go. 100 seeds. But there are over 100 of them. He had to be cautious. Chapter 7:13. But how can I move them? The news spread like wildfire through the entire Purple Cuckoo City. A figure carrying a flag was strolling along the street. The laughable and ugly blood bear was fluttering in the wind. The young lady behind him was like an ice mountain. After finding the coolie, Tang Tian was finally free. The servant raised his head, wanting to say something but hesitated. Ben Sin was extremely confident in his heart. His gaze quickly shifted away from Ghost Face Mask and landed on Han Bingning, his eyes revealing a look of surprise. That's right, being strong is the most important thing. Ghost Face Mask is here. The servant's voice trembled. Ghost Face Mask is here. The Muir residence was brightly lit. She retracted her gaze and silently followed behind Tang Tian. Ben Sen's question was also the question in many people's hearts. The Qin family was too strong, and even if it was just to arouse their disgust, it was enough to cause the majority of families to shrink back. Even Purple Cuckoo City's Diwu family did not want to be involved. Furthermore, the opponent this time was not just the Qin family, but also the Galloping Horse City's Lu family, a family that was even stronger than the Qin family. He opened his eyes, raised the blood-bear flag, and without turning his head he said, "Let's go." But a strange silence appeared at the end of the street. Following that, the silence was like a deadly poison, spreading out at an astonishing speed. Pa. He had long heard that the Null Division prisoners had astonishing talents, but Benson did not think much of it until he saw the change in Han Bingning. Did he truly believe that the rumors were true? Han Bingning retracted her gaze. She had sensed a trace of fighting intent coming from that direction. In her eyes, the fearless figure in front of her, how could he be disturbed by such a mess? The smile on Dalin's face disappeared and she asked unhappily, "What's the matter? Why are you so flustered?" Lu Lingnan slowly regained his senses. He stared intently at the figure carrying the flag down the street. So terrifying. Benson was startled, everyone was startled. The battle was imminent, but Tang Tian's state of mind was extremely calm. The power in his body flowed quietly, the regiment of flames in his eyes blazing. Taixia was startled. Lu Lingnan stared at the figure below, his heart filled with battle intent. Just at that moment, the Ice Mountain Beauty who was following behind Ghostface Mask raised her head and looked back, their gazes clashing in the air. He had a 100% chance of winning. No matter how much money Mingzhu offered, she was unable to move them. Although the godly fist had not been perfected, it had already taken shape. Tang Tian wanted to give this fist a name. Since it was created by the godlike young man, of course, it should be called Godly Fist. Benson's voice was powerful and resonated out. Benson stepped onto the tower of the castle and looked down at the streets at the Ghostface Mask who was carrying the flag. Killing intent surged in his heart. Under the countless gazes, Ghostface Mask stopped. He casually placed the blood-bear black flag by his feet. He raised his head without fear. Facing Benson's sharp gaze, he shouted loudly, "I want to defeat you." Everyone had thought of thousands of reasons, but no one had thought that it would be this reason. In the darkness of the Purple Cuckoo City, all of the mansions lit up one after another. Figures soared into the sky. They rode the night wind. They swept through the sky, coming from all directions like a tide. In the gigantic Purple Cuckoo City, the people flowed like a tide, following closely behind the wantonly blood-bear black flag. What's the point of Ghostface Mask finding trouble with the Mu-Er family? What's his goal? Dalin's face darkened. If you have something to say, say it. The darkness in front of him was similar to their situation. His sharp eyes could still see the specks of dust floating in the darkness. He slowly closed his eyes and listened to his own breathing, as though he was listening to the voice in his heart. The night wind blew, the blood flag fluttered in the quiet streets, wantonly extending out. Two figures, one in front and one behind, quietly walked forward. Truly arrogant. Everyone was filled with curiosity. What is Ghostface Mask trying to do this time? Benson had absolute confidence. In the previous battle, he had already grasped Ghostface Mask's strength. If he was not familiar with him, it would be easy for him to be exhausted by Ghostface Mask's endless methods. But once he was familiar with him, Ghostface Mask's weakness in Benson's eyes was infinitely magnified. He had already decided to kill Ghostface Mask today. Time seemed to have stopped. The bustling street suddenly stopped. The shop assistant who was initially hawking his wares had his mouth wide open, but no sound came out. All of the customers who were initially enthusiastic swept their gazes, and immediately became silent. That's right, I've never seen him before. Pa. In her eyes, no one in the entire Sin domain had the qualifications to be enemies with Tang Tian. Benson, who had been standing behind Dalin with his hands by his side, suddenly opened his eyes filled with killing intent. He snorted, "You really think our Moor family is a market? You think you can come and go as you please? Young miss, please accompany young Miss Mingzhu here. This subordinate will be back soon." They had already lost their bravery, they had already accepted their fate, they had already lost their bravery. You could say that he was stupid, arrogant, or overestimating himself. But every time he appeared, he would release a boundless light aura, and no one could ignore his existence. Previously, when Ghostface Mask snatched Han Bingning from his hands, it had already caused Benson to lose all his face, and for him to actually come here again, it was a naked humiliation to the Moor family. Not only must I win this time, I must win beautifully. I better go and gather information. That will be safer. Ghost Face Mask, truly an interesting fellow. Who knows, maybe we will have the chance to fight in the future. Ghost Face Mask? Truly an arrogant fellow to actually not place Purple Cuckoo City in his eyes at all. Although he knew that his actions were extremely stupid, but for some reason Lu Lingnan's heart was stirred. All the schemes, the rules, the scruples to the arrogant man below were like floating clouds. Suddenly, a servant rushed in anxiously, his face filled with panic. If I can recruit this lady into my family. Han Bingming followed behind him. When Tang Tian's footsteps stepped onto the West Street, the people who heard the news immediately went into an uproar. Xianxia looked at the door blankly. In the night, similar discussions and sighs could be heard in every corner of Purple Cuckoo City. But very quickly Benson knew that his thoughts were not realistic. Seeing Han Bingming, he knew that she was dead set on Ghost Face Mask. Mingzhu was extremely anxious. In truth, she also knew that the predicament they were in, as long as they could obtain support, they would be able to break out of it. After all, the Lu family were outsiders and the Qin family was unable to do anything overboard. In the blink of an eye, the street was empty. When Benson heard that Ghost Face Mask was here, he was furious, but he quickly calmed down and felt that there was something fishy about it. It doesn't make sense. There aren't any Null Division prisoners in my residence. And Benson believed that Ghost Face Mask also knows of the disparity in strength between them, and the previous trick will not work again. Only the clear sound of footsteps could be heard. But in the next moment the silent street suddenly exploded. When Ping Xiaoshan rushed back to report the news, he saw Xianxia, who was coughing blood and smashing stones, and immediately felt miserable. To think that a B-class fierce person who possessed such a shocking inheritance like flowing night would be reduced to such a state. Ping Xiaoshan, who had a rigid expression, rushed over and left in a hurry. The small door glowed with light. A young man holding a flag walked forward silently. The silent and ugly Ghost Face Mask revealed an imposing aura. His high-spirited figure carried an indescribable arrogance and stubbornness as he walked against the light. Benson threw away all his distracting thoughts. He looked down and bellowed, "Ghost Face Mask, you have already snatched the person. Why are you attacking us?" He did not care much about the young miss buying Han Bingming. To him, it was fine as long as the young miss was happy. But after not seeing him for a few days, Han Bingming's aura had actually become much stronger than before. Ghost Face Mask dares to make an entire city his enemy. How can I not dare to make an entire residence my enemy? All of their faces revealed an indescribable excitement. Lu Lingnan, who was staying at the top of the inn, heard the screams outside, and immediately walked to the window, coincidentally witnessing the scene. He was extremely shocked. On the way he had heard about Ghost Face Mask but did not think much of it. But after witnessing the scene, he then understood that Ghost Face Mask had left a deep impression on the city. When Ghost Face Mask appeared for the first time, it could be said to be unexpected. But at the heart of the storm, the Ghost Face Mask still appeared. Just this aura alone was enough to cause people to be subdued. Mingzhu did not know either. She had gone to the Su family, the Roland family, the Teopiot family, but was met with a wall. Every family did not reject him but instead would treat him warmly. Their words were more beautiful than the last, but no one was willing to lend a helping hand. But the arrogance of seeing his opponent as worthless grass truly made people's blood boil. Lu Lingnan clenched his fists tightly. Compared to Ghost Face Mask, Xiaxia's ferocious name was insignificant. Lu Lingnan had completely recovered from the setback of Xiaxia's disappearance. So what if the Shui family has any strong martial artists? Who am I, Lu Lingnan, inferior to? Mingzhu and Delin stopped at the same time. With that, Benson disappeared. Lu Lingnan only felt a cold sword concept pressing on his forehead, causing him to quiver, as though he had fallen into an ice cellar. The boiling blood in his body suddenly became bone-piercing cold. In the night, Purple Cuckoo City's main road was as bright as day. The various shops on both sides were brightly lit. Purple Cuckoo City's nightlife was extremely rich. In truth, it was not only Purple Cuckoo City, the entire Sin Domain's nightlife was extremely lively. All of the aristocratic families that were exiled continued their most familiar lifestyles. The bitter and cruel life, the declining glory and glorious memories caused people to feel even more pain. Countless people indulged in getting drunk late at night, trying to use alcohol to forget their worries. That's right, arrogance. He wore the Ghost Face Mask and took out the Blood Bear flag, his aura soaring high. So arrogant, so reckless, so fearless. Han Bingning silently held onto her sword and stood behind her. The sword was something that she took out from the warehouse. It was not of good quality, but it could be used. Lu Lingnan never thought that witnessing Ghost Face Mask's reckless rampage would actually allow his mental state to break through a bottleneck. Feeling the surging power in his body, Lu Lingnan wanted to laugh out loud. Even the originally warm light seemed to emit a bone-piercing chill at this moment. Everyone, I won't make you wait for long. After 2 seconds of silence, there was an uproar. The sound waves that reached the sky exploded out. Lu Lingnan's face revealed a look of shock. In the darkness, the ghost face mask was sinister, the blood bear flag was silent. Mingzhu looked at Delin in front of her and sighed in her heart. Delin's smile was perfect and flawless, filled with friendliness, but Mingzhu knew that the other party was just restraining herself. With the initial mastery of the God Fist, Tang Tian was bursting with confidence. At this time, if I don't challenge Black Benson, how can I face myself? The entire street had sunk into a dead silence. Hysterical screams, the sound of wine cups falling to the ground, panicked footsteps, tables and chairs falling to the ground, the entire scene was in chaos. Everyone frantically turned and ran, and the customers that faced the street tried their best to hide. In the past, at this time, the street would be bustling with people. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.